Welcome in, everybody. That's right. The NBA playoffs are here. They've been rolling on, but this is our first game, so it feels like it actually starts right now. Toronto and Boston and the Celtics have been rolling 2-0. They lead the series. This game is going to be back in Boston too, Nick. So this is a huge edge for our Celtics. Already have 2-0. They get to play this one at home. That's amazing.
Yeah, to me, I think the most interesting thing about this game is I wonder a little bit if the Celtics realize, because I certainly know that the fans do, with everything that's happening in the Bucks and the Heat series, you're kind of looking at the Celtics team like the championship window that you guys have right now hasn't been as good as it is right now. When was the last time that you really looked at the Celtics and were like, they have a chance this year? Like, it's for the better part of a decade. Like, this is their shot right now. So they're up 2-0 right now. Really interested to see how Jason Tatum keeps it going. You look at a guy who, like, with the Celtics, I would maybe argue that they have the best big three left in the bubble. Like, can we confidently say that? If you look at Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker, like, who else are you thinking? Like Paul George, Kawhi, maybe Lou Williams. You know what I mean? Like, I might take the Celtics.
It's an interesting argument. I would take the Lakers. I'd still take LeBron and AD and give me literally anyone. Okay, I'll take Kyle Kuzma.
Anyone else?
I guess. No way, Nick, you're trading up Kemba and Tatum and Jaylen for LeBron, AD, and literally anyone on that roster.
I think that's where it kind of gets a little bit nitty. Like, it's the anybody else, right? Like, because if it's Kuzma, like last shot against the Nuggets, Kuzma, a shot where I'm kind of like all of a sudden rethinking the Derrick Rose Kuzma swap. Like, okay, wait, maybe now I do want Kyle Kuzma. You're right. It's difficult to say, like, you know what, I'm actually going to pass on LeBron. So you're right. But right now it's like, in terms of just, I guess I don't even know how to articulate it, but
I listen, I get it. You're pro Celtic, and you just fluffed off my whole Celtics are home tonight. We're in the bubble. You were like straight into business.
I'm sorry. I had to go into it. I'm sorry.
You had this. Clearly, you've been thinking about this all day since we said we're going to do this live stream. Like, look, these three. And then I just basically shit on you. Like, no. LeBron, AD, and I would do the same thing with the Clippers. Right. Give me Kawhi, and even like broke Paul George. I'll take Kawhi, Paul George, and who do you want to throw in there?
Lou Williams.
Sure, Lou Williams, Pat Bev. Yeah. But you're right. The Celtics have a legit chance to win the whole damn thing. They do. They absolutely do. I mean, look at the way the Bucks are scuffling along here. So right now, I think if you polled NBA fans right now who was going to win the East, they would pick Boston.
I think it would be Boston, or I think, honestly, maybe just from like a recency bias thing, I think Miami would be a pretty attractive pick. When I mentioned the same point I just mentioned, when I mentioned that on Twitter earlier, some people were like, literally the reason that we're talking about this is because of what Miami is doing to Milwaukee. Here's the thing about that, though, is if you've been paying attention, right, like, you knew that the scariest matchup for Milwaukee coming into the playoffs, it was always going to be Miami, solely because of how well they shoot the three. And Milwaukee this season, anytime they lost in that first stretch of the season, it was because the opposing team had like a historically great performance from the 3-point line. You look specifically at Philadelphia on Christmas Day, which is a game that I was talking so much trash before the game in favor of the Bucks, and then it just all fell apart. It was heartbreaking. But what's making me mad is, like, I'm watching this series, and the shots that Miami is killing Milwaukee with, like, they're all heavily contested. It's not the open looks that they're burying. It's the ones where they have a hand in their face. And, you look last night, like, Jimmy Butler didn't hit that shot to end the game. And maybe that's something we can get into in a minute. Like, did Giannis's left hand on Jimmy Butler's back really constitute a foul? What do you think?
Well, hold on a second, because this is the first time we've ever worked together, Nick. By the way, what's your Twitter?
It is at Nicholas Hinkle, NicholasHenkel.
So you must follow Nick, and you must follow me at the Carm. By the way, my name is Mark Carmen, and Nick, it's great to be with you. By the way, your passion on Twitter is the greatest passion in the history of Twitter. So people are not following you on Twitter. They're not living their life the right way. Speaking of passion, I'm watching last night, and that foul gets called. And look, I mean, I used to play a ton of pickup hoop in my elder age here. As the Grays are coming just a little bit here. I don't hit the court as much, but like back in the day, that would have been a fight. Are you kidding me? On game point, you're going to talk a little push on the side that's nothing, and you're calling a foul that's going to actually. I mean, it would never happen in pickup hoop. It would, you just ball up, let's go. But that was preposterous, absolutely preposterous.
It sparked a legitimate debate between me and my girlfriend. Like, we were ready to fight last night because she is like a huge Jimmy Butler fan, and I just can't stand him. So we're watching it, and I'm like, you think Jimmy's going to hit this last shot? And she was like, of course. And what pissed me off was when he goes to the line, she's like, see, I told you he was going to hit that shot. And so, afterwards we're arguing about, was it a foul? Was it not a foul? My thing is, it was very clearly a makeup call for what happened on the opposite possession, right? Like, it 100% was. Did Dragic really foul Middleton? I don't really think that he did. But my thing is, if it's a makeup call, I'm okay with that because that happens, right? You can't call it right there. Wait till overtime to give Miami a foul.
Exactly. You made a great point. I thought, look, you underline, like, look, we can all be mad about this call, but the bottom line is that the Bucks played a terrible basketball game and didn't deserve to win, and that's true. Yeah. And I think it's very important, and for whatever reason, it just never registers with referees. We are not here to see you ref a basketball game. Yeah. Like, your job is to be invisible. And you're the most visible. We're at the biggest moment when a guy shoots a jump shot in the corner to win the game, and there's nowhere even close to his elbow, his forearm, his hand, nothing. And then you instantly make yourself the story. I mean, I guess if he had clipped him fully, okay, fine, but that didn't happen either. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things, as the saying goes. If the most memorable thing from any game is something that the official did, they didn't do their job, right? So it's definitely one of those where, like I said, and like you just pointed out, for the better part of 48 minutes, the Milwaukee Bucks were outplayed. So don't get it twisted that in those last 60 seconds, when there's like a little bit of life, Jimmy Butler makes a bad play, turns the ball over, Brook Lopez gets the bucket at the rim, and there's a little bit of life for them. Chris Middleton knocking down those free throws on a foul that probably shouldn't have been called. Don't let the close score and that last minute distract you from the fact that Milwaukee was bad. And Miami, they deserve to win.
You're a diehard Piston fan, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were okay. And your favorite Piston of all time is?
Probably Rip.
Okay.
I would say Rip Hamilton. That question is always really difficult for me. So when the Pistons won in 2004, I was 6. So like, I remember that it was the thing that happened, but I wasn't able to really enjoy it. Like, I remember losing to the Spurs in 2005 more than I remember winning in 2004. Like, I was able to enjoy a Red Wings Stanley Cup in 2008, the Tigers going to a few World Series here in the last decade. And in 2006, I actually do remember that pretty well. But yeah, with the Pistons, Rip was probably it. Chauncey's up there as well. I can't really say Isaiah, because I was 10 years removed from being alive when he was really in his prime. If I could go all time, Dave, Bing, and Isaiah, like, looking back, are really some of my favorites. But, in terms of actually getting to watch, and then if I could throw a controversial one in there, I love Blake Griffin. Like, I don't think I've ever had the passion for a Piston the way I do for Blake Griffin. I go to war for him, and I love him.
I thought you were going to say Lambeer. I thought you were going to say Earl Curitan. I didn't know where you were going. You went with Blake. I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that. And hey, he's comported himself with the professionalism coming to Detroit, and not exactly the time you want to come to Detroit, but I enjoy your rants, your Piston rants, your NBA rants. It's all good stuff, and I'm impressed that I guess if you're your girlfriend's got to be on board with all this stuff, because I mean,
it's funny. This actually happened again last night. So obviously with the hiatus and the Pistons just not playing, I've sort of enveloped myself within King's Twitter. Grant Napier and I are pretty good friends, so he was able to kind of give me a really cool platform. So you know, that kind of encouraged me to keep doing Kings games after he saw my work. And, you know, we have conversations and stuff like that. With Bucks Twitter, they just really like me and I really like them. So I support their team. So through them, I've been able to continue to do recaps. But the funniest thing is last night when I made a recap for that Bucks game, there are times when I get so worked up when I'm recording those videos that you only have 2 minutes, 20 seconds. It has to be concise, to the point. I'll stumble over words or I won't get a point out. So I have to do multiple takes. So I'm sitting here shouting and repeating the same things for multiple.
Yeah, I think Nick obviously is frozen here, so we'll let him pop back in. But that's true. 220 to get out a Twitter recap. I would just, oh, here you're popping back in. We lost you for a second. I would just say leave all the stumbles in there. That makes it even more beautiful, by the way. You don't need to be perfect on these recaps. I like your attention to detail. That's impressive. But like a stumble here, a stumble there, or even a complete meltdown is very entertaining. Twitter world will accept that.
Yeah, and the authenticity, I think, is what people enjoy, right?
For sure.
So in a way, you're right. But there is a point where it's like there's so much that I have to say. Sometimes those like millisecond pauses can be the difference between me making this final point and me not. So it's really about talking as fast as I can. And I guess just trying to bring a different perspective to certain games that maybe other people wouldn't. And I think maybe that's why some people are so interested in what I do. Sometimes it blows me away because people are really nice. Some people are also really mean because it's the internet. But, you know, the biggest thing is like, whenever some of my videos do particularly well and they reach certain fan bases or people who don't follow me, it's always the same replies. You know, it's like, oh, what's Joakim Noah doing talking about, you know, this basketball game, or like Steven Adams. Like I get all those guys and it's just like, whatever. I had a guy one time stop me on the street here in Chicago. And he was like, you look like that basketball player. And I was like, do you mean Joakim Noah? He was like, yes, I do. And I was like, okay, thanks, guy. So, yeah.
Joe's one of my all-time favorites, so that's a straight compliment. And I had my duels with, I wouldn't call it duels, but I had my moments with Joe where I thought I was seeing things one way and he was seeing them another, covering him and that fun Bulls team with D Rose and young Jimmy before. Why do you hate Jimmy so much?
So this isn't why I hate Jimmy, but I think it's interesting to throw it in there. I have a tweet from, I believe, 2013. I was watching a Bulls playoff game against, I don't remember who. And I remember seeing this guy out there who was just defending with tenacity that I had never seen. Dude was a dog. So I go to Twitter, as one does, and I go, Jimmy Butler is the next LeBron James. And I remember I full-heartedly believed it, right? That never really came to fruition. I guess the reason that I don't like him is all this stuff happens with Derrick Rose. He like talks to a reporter from, I think, the Sun, the Chicago Sun, and was like, Derrick Rose sucks. And then everything happens and then everything. Am I right? Is that what happened? It was something like that.
You're talking about through the Sun Times, and the reporter was Joe Colley. Is what you're teeing up right now. Joe Colley and Jimmy were, for whatever reason, had some level of relationship that made it out like they were close. I never knew exactly what was true there, but what I did know was true is that Joe had beef with Derrick, and it was BS. And I gave, you know, Derrick got a lot of flack in this town for no reason whatsoever. You know, yes, he missed a ton of games, but the dude was hurt. It was always ridiculous. And Cowley would go up to him after games, and you know, he had written, you know, he's killing him in the paper all the time. And so he would go up to him, ask him questions. Derrick would answer him every time. Look him right in the eye, or actually, that's not true. He wouldn't necessarily look him in the eye, but he might give him a glance, excuse, answer the question, and then he'd answer the question. Like, he wasn't like, I'm not talking to you. He was a total pro. And people never really, I don't know, he didn't get enough credit for that in my mind. Like, Derrick handled the situation like you would expect a professional athlete to handle the situation, not like a baby at all.
It's one of those things, like, since I've lived here and I've gotten to interact with different people here in Chicago, like, it's really just dependent on who you ask, whether or not people still feel a certain type of way about Derrick Rose. Some people have gotten over it. Some people are like, no, I got love for him. Some people never had a problem with him in the first place. Some people to this day despise him, and it blows my mind. Like people who are like lifelong Chicago sports fans still can't stand the guy. And as a Pistons fan, a guy who, you know, is watching Derrick Rose now on a night-to-night basis, and he's, you know, been exceptional, it like hurts because, you know, I don't know if you ever had a chance to watch Derrick Rose's documentary that came out, you know, a few years ago.
Yeah, Stadium did a great job.
Yeah, it was amazing. And, you know, obviously it humanized him a lot, and it made you feel for him a lot. The most famous, I guess, clip from that is when he was traded from the Bulls to the Knicks, and, you know, the emotion just overcomes him. I guess, let me just get back on track here a little bit. Jimmy Butler. I guess the reasons I don't like him is because I didn't enjoy his exit in Chicago. I didn't enjoy anything that happened in Minnesota because it just felt like he was a martyr in every situation that he was in. And the infamous scrimmage that everybody just loves to talk about, just I don't enjoy it. And then with the Sixers, I guess I don't fault Jimmy for anything that happened with the Sixers because we've since learned that like his relationship with the front office, like it wasn't just bad, like it didn't really exist. You know, and they decided to pay Tobias Harris $180 million instead of paying Jimmy, and like that was dumb. So I guess I don't really blame him for anything that happened in Philadelphia. I just don't really like I don't want to call him a fake alpha, but like there's something about him that just I don't know, it just irks me.
Yeah, so let me add on some flame here to your hatred. Number one, I had forgotten, at least I hadn't thought about it in 2 years, his whole scene in Minnesota. And the way he blew up that situation, especially with a guy who he should have had a lot of love for, and Tom Thibodeau, was disgusting.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Jimmy, when he was a Bull, he would say in the locker room before games, there's nobody in the world that can do what I do with the exception of one guy. And the one guy that he was referencing was Michael Jordan. So he's putting himself on that plane, which is, as you're talking fake alpha, was ridiculous. And guys like Joakim Noah and Derek, you know, they would just be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're just completely out of your mind. I mean, I never saw this firsthand, but that was well reported many times behind the scenes that they were just like, he was not well liked in there at all. And you know, it was, that's all true. Jimmy off the court is trouble. On the court,
he's trouble in a different sense.
He is a competitor, man. You got to give him. I give him his due what he does on the court. Look, he's not LeBron, but he's a bona fide all-star. He's a top 15 to 20 player in the league for years on end. I give him credit for going to Miami. A lot of people thought that he was going to jump on the Clippers or, stay in Philly. He goes down to Miami. Nobody thought the Heat were going to be where they're sitting right now. And, give Spo and Riley and, credit the way they reshaped that roster. But, Jimmy deserves a lot of props. There's just no doubt. By the way, we're getting close here. Raptors and Celtics come on up here. Toronto absolutely has to have a win tonight. We should talk real quick about the NBA news of the day, which was Richard Jefferson calling out Giannis Antetokounmpo, saying that he's more of a Pippen and he needs to play with a Jordan. Meanwhile, this guy's won an MVP. And then Scotty replies today, and he's like, and he props up Giannis, like, I never won an MVP, let alone a back-to-back that's coming. And by the way, who the hell were you as a player? Twitter went nuts. Pippen, I'm impressed by just he's on the jump all the time. He was not this outgoing of a dude back in the day, and the fact that he's on Twitter like a bunch, it just impresses me. And that was a complete takedown of Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, to me, I think the thing that we mentioned just before we hopped on here, to me the funniest thing was LeBron jumping in. Like, I just imagine LeBron in his hotel room just like checking Twitter, and then just randomly is like, whoa, why was I brought into this? I was just really intrigued by, my thing was like, who exactly would be the Jordan that Giannis is supposed to play with? You know what I mean? Like, even if he went to Toronto, right? Even if he went to Miami, are we calling Pascal Siakam or Jimmy Butler like the Jordan to Giannis's Pippen? Like, where exactly is he supposed to go that he's not going to be the best player on the team? You know what I mean? Like, let's just, hypothetically, right? Let's just Dallas somehow gets Giannis, right? Somehow Giannis and Luka end up on the same team. Like, would you even consider that? Like, he's playing with someone who's better. So I was just kind of confused as to what he was even talking about.
Right. It doesn't make sense in any, like, relative to today's NBA. Like, right. Okay, I get it, sure. But you want him to jump on a team with a player that's much better than him so he can win and we can all be bored. Like, what do we want to do? Right. Recreate Golden State here? Which I guess wasn't, I shouldn't say boring, but like you knew who was winning.
I get what you mean. Right.
Yes. So nobody wants that. I do think that you can make the argument that he needs his own Pippen, but like, I mean, Scottie Pippen is now rated, I think, the 23rd best player to ever play the game. And, you know, maybe those, and he was on my podcast fairly recently. He's like, I don't like those ratings. These are all great players. I have no, you know, he kind of downplayed it. He did downplay it, but like, who would you rather have, Pippen, Charles Barkley? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, you know, Scotty does a lot of things on that court. You need a bucket, you want Charles. Right. But you want to win. You want players to be happy with who they're playing with. You want somebody who's going to defend like a dog every night. Scotty was ridiculous. So it's like, it comes across as an insult on one of the greatest players of all time. And it's just ridiculous. Like, come on, which is why, you know, my opinion, you know, he played on arguably, you know, the greatest team of all time. The guy was, you know, he was ridiculous. So, right. But people want to dog him. Like, they think like, well, if I play with Mike, I'd win too. I mean, that's really what's underneath it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and maybe this is just a little bit of a sidetrack, but I guess it goes a little bit hand in hand with what we were talking about just there. Actually, you know what? There was some other NBA news today, I guess, that we could tackle just briefly before the game starts. Rather, instead of being speculative, we could just actually give our quick comments on the Steve Nash hiring, which was probably one of the more, like, you wake up and admittedly, I slept in a little bit late today. I wake up, my brother had texted me an hour before a screenshot of the notification that he got. When was the last time that you were that blindsided by some NBA news? And I think the craziest thing was that apparently Brooklyn made this decision internally in May to hire Steve Nash. And it's just, give me just your initial, like, you read that notification and what are you thinking about that?
Well, hang on a second here, Nick, because I'm texting my sources right now. Well, here's a couple things. Number one, I love Steve Nash.
Yep.
I don't know if he can coach, but I'm guessing he can. Always been, I mean, you know, on the court, obviously got every single ounce out of his ability, and was just a phenomenal competitor. He's also I mean, his journey, the dude when he came in with the Mavs, he sucked and he got booed.
Yeah.
And sucked is maybe a little too harsh, but he wasn't anywhere close to the player that he became, and it was hard for him, and he went through all of that. So just like that experience to me is going to really help him, you know, dealing with guys who are going through things like, you know, if Jordan or whoever, that level of guy coach, they're not going to understand somebody who's struggling, right? You know, he's going to have the perspective of what's like to be the best, and also what it's like to be climbing and having a lot of heat on you. And players lead, you know, this is a guy that I think he's going to connect really well. So, and like the coaching candidates out there are just so nonplus, like hire Mark Jackson or like no interest. Like this was an off the board, I think, great hire by the Nets, and I like their front office a lot.
You know what I think is and maybe somebody had made the point. I haven't seen it yet. Again, like we mentioned before we hopped on, I've been a little bit AFK on Twitter today. I think people are forgetting that he was in Golden State's front office, right? So like he has some sort of a relationship with Kevin Durant. Now you got to figure a little bit that may be factored into this decision, and maybe, obviously Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving had to co-sign this decision. They're not going to bring a coach in without consulting their two superstars. Do you think that is played as big of a role in his hiring as I'm making it out to be, or do you just think it was like, yeah, that definitely factored in, but I don't think it's that big of a deal? His relationship with Kevin Durant.
It's a great question, and I think it absolutely factors in. And I think the bigger thing is like, oh my God, we have to get someone who's going to be empathetic and understand Kyrie. That is, a challenge and a half. Let me take a look here at some of the comments on here from everybody jumping in here. And thanks so much. Dan Shed, you're welcome. Thank you for doing this at FanSided. He says, I like Chauncey Billups. I'm a little late to looking at the chat. My bad here, Dan. There you go, Nick, a Chauncey Billups fan, which, by the way, I think if I was your age, I think I'd be a Chauncey guy. Josh Wilson's asking your thoughts on Chauncey looking for a coaching gig. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so like I said, I was a little bit late to it. I was kind of mad that I wasn't able to jump on it and write about it immediately. But it's probably good because I'm generally pretty bad with off-the-cuff reactions. I need a little bit of time to sort of go through it and think like, is this actually, what I believe? I think it's kind of about time. A guy who, people have been trying to get him into a front office role for quite some time now. I think back to Cleveland. They tried to get him into a GM position, I believe. But what was it? He only wanted to be an assistant GM, or they were trying to hire him as an assistant GM, and he wanted like the actual title. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm sure you can recall that Cleveland was on the phone with Chauncey. I think a guy who is that talented at basketball, I kind of correlate it to Steve Nash, I guess, right? Like a guy who is so good at his game that I guess it was only kind of a matter of time until he actually found his way into a coaching position. Where exactly he would land interests me. Is he going to be like the next coach of the Pacers? Detroit's not going to hire him anytime soon. Dwayne Casey's got 2 or 3 years left on his deal, and there's no sign of him being fired soon. So I think I would just be curious to know where he's going to land. But again, like Steve Nash, it was only a matter of time until Chauncey found his way into this position.
Kyle Lowry, by the way, with a drive down the lane and one, and Marcus Gasol with a jumper. It's 5-0 Raptors, where we played 1 minute of basketball here underway. The Raptors out early, and they could use a good start as Jaylen Brown knocks down a jumper from the top of the key off the screen. Chauncey Billups, one of those guys, by the way, for me, I'd hire him to do anything. You want to be the head coach? Great. You want to be an assistant coach? Great. You want to be the GM? Great. You want to be my accountant? I'm in. Like that.
Yeah.
There's certain guys in your life that you wouldn't hire to literally do anything for you, and then there's other people that you would trust with anything. And that's how I look at Chauncey. Raptors. I just missed whoever scored that bucket. Looking down, but they're out earlier, 7-2. This is the must-win of all must-wins here. Who you got tonight, Nick? Who you picking?
It's difficult. I don't know if Josh is still in here, but I know that Josh Wilson is a big Daniel Tice fan. Is Daniel Tice going to be the X factor in a game 3 of the second round of the playoffs? I don't really know. I know that mechanically, he just loves the way that he makes the Celtics offense work. And I think right now, Boston is working more cohesively, offensively, and I guess even defensively than Toronto is. And I think it's weird that Pascal Siakam plays a good defensive team and then just forgets how to play basketball. I think because of that, with the trajectory that, like we talked about earlier, as I sort of derailed your original question and just ran blatantly was like, Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker and Jaylen Brown, best big 3 in the bubble. I just think that the way that they're working right now, I'm going to give them the edge. And, as far as the series goes, I don't think it's a sweep. I think maybe a gentleman's sweep. You're out in 5. I got 2 questions for you, Mark, and I'll ask you this one here. I was thinking about this. I don't know if this is me thinking rationally or if it's not. Do you worry a little bit that Kemba might get a little burned out here in the playoffs? Because this isn't, with the route that Boston's on, we've talked about them being potential favorites to at least make it to the finals to win the East. We're talking about a guy who hasn't played into the playoffs. I mean, hardly ever with Boston or with Charlotte, right? So, do you think that's a little bit of a concern?
So I'm gonna say you're reaching, just for the sheer fact that we had a March to July break in the season.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I see where you're coming from on it, because he's been hanging around MJ and the Hornets, and not playing deep into May and June. I got to tell you though, when I think about Kemba, first of all, he wanted to stay in Charlotte for whatever reason, money, I guess. They let him go, which is completely insane, and he has straight saved the Celtics. Like, the whole Kyrie thing was an abject disaster. And if they still had him, by the way, I don't think they'd certainly be in this position they're in now, up 2-0 on the Raptors, even without Kawhi and all that. Lowry, by the way, with an incredibly difficult shot in the lane and one, again, his second and one. Raptors 9, Celtics 3, 9:15 to go here in the first quarter. But I just look at Kemba like he's been the savior for Boston.
Yeah.
From the minute that he just had to figure out, like, okay, well, you don't want me, where am I going to go? I guess I'm going to go wear the green and white, and we're going to make this work. I mean, I love watching him play. That's a ridiculous drive right there by him with the right hand layup. I mean, just threw the whole team. Hesitation, go, lay it in. Beautiful. Are you a fan, or what do you, a little overrated? What do you go with Kemba?
With Kemba, it's weird. Like, maybe this is super cliche. Whenever I think of Kemba, I just think of that UConn shot in the Garden, cardiac Kemba. You know what I'm talking about? All those years ago, and that's kind of always the standard that I've held him to. I don't know that he's overrated, just because do people really talk about him? Like, I'm not going to say that he's underrated. I think maybe he could use, I guess, a little bit more credibility. He's just all around solid, right? I mean, he's a killer offensively. I think defensively he's serviceable enough. You don't have to hide him or anything like that, but I don't think he's one of the best defensive guards in the league. I don't know that he's underrated or overrated. I guess if you want to talk about guards specifically in this game, the ones who are drawn and ones and defending out of their minds, I think you look at Kyle Lowry. I think you look at a guy who there's two sides of the aisle, right? It's either you're in the All-Star game and Kyle Lowry is taking charges, and you're either mad about it because you're like, why is Kyle Lowry taking charges? Like, it's the All-Star game. Again, see, I did this again. This wasn't even your question, and I just derailed it. And it was like, anyways, Kyle Lowry. It's like people are mad that he's taking charges in the All-Star game, and it's like, well, people were mad 3 years ago that there's no defense played in the All-Star game. So which one is it, right? Like, we got to pick one of these. And so I think if there's anybody who's underrated in this game, I think it's definitely Kyle Lowry. Again, I don't think it's to say that Kemba is under or overrated. I just think that he probably gets credit that he's due, whereas Kyle Lowry, who is by the approximation of myself, the greatest Raptor literally ever. And I know people are going to say, well, what about Vince? What about Vince? He's the most influential Raptor ever. I almost definitely could use that basketball on the map of Canada, but like international recognition to the sport, 100%. But it's
Nick's breaking up here. Let's hope that he's going to crack back in, or when I see his face move, I'll stop talking. But until then, I'll hang on out here. 14-10. Raptors on top of the Celtics, as you see Jason Tatum with the basketball in the lane, gets cut off beautifully. Good defense by the Raptors, Van Vliet and company. So look, and Tatum back down the lane, flips it up, fouls his own miss, tips it in, stares at the ref, wants a call, not getting it. Boston within 2. There you are, Nick. You're back. You're back with us.
Here we go.
Why don't you finish that point? Because you cut out about halfway through it. Siakam in the lane, short shot, no good. Rebound by Jaylen Brown. Boston.
Yeah, so I don't know if you had heard the point that I made about Kyle Lowry being the greatest Raptor ever.
Yeah.
I need to go through that part again. Okay.
Well,
so I do think he's the greatest Raptor ever.
You know who you slighted though in that it through you didn't give any love to DeMar.
No, I didn't, and he's definitely right. I don't even mean that in a disrespectful way, right? Like, I'm not slighting DeMar DeRozan, the mid-range merchant, but I think in terms like DeMar DeRozan, all due respect, like, you were in Toronto when we were calling it LeBronto. And I know Kyle Lowry was too, but like Kyle Lowry was a top 2 player on a championship team who, yeah, they beat a crippled Warriors team, but it's like Kyle Lowry was absolutely exceptional throughout the playoffs last season, and especially in the actual NBA Finals. So yeah, it's no disrespect to like Tracy McGrady or DeMar DeRozan, but it's like at the end of the day, let me tell you something. For the last 8 years, the Toronto Raptors have achieved the over on their Vegas win total for 8 years in a row. 8 years that Kyle Lowry has been the Toronto Raptors point guard. What are we talking about right now, man? Like at some point, you just like it's free money. If you want free money, take the over on the Raptors win total. It's sealed and signed. It's going to happen. Kyle Lowry is amazing.
So I'm going to remember that for next season. I wonder
what free money?
Well, that I got to bet Toronto on the over.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And next year, if that comes in, that's going to be incredible because people are going to be valuing the Raptors after this season.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that streak comes to an end next year, but maybe, but hey, I just always looked at him, and maybe I'm missing something here, but when you absolutely have to have it, he's just not an offensive player you can give the ball to, and he's going to score when they really want to shut him down, which is why the Raptors had so much trouble with when it was LeBronto. But it was the same thing with DeMar. And I do wonder, like, let's just say for argument's sake that last year it was Kawhi and DeMar and not Kawhi and Kyle. Do they still win the whole thing? I'm thinking you would say no, but I might argue that they still might get it done, even though they don't even have a true point guard. But you didn't really need one with Kawhi, you know? That to me would be an interesting argument. I also would say, as we look at all-time Raptors, I just feel like we got to throw some names out there, which would include Damon Stoudemire, Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go. Let's get the original OGs here. I love that you brought up T-Mac, but it's Vince Carter all day, is it not? I mean, is there even an argument?
As far as the greatest Raptor of all time, he's too influential, right? I think that's the question. Vince Carter is the most influential. Bolded, italicized, underlined, yes. In terms of greatest, though,
okay,
it's Kyle Lowry, man.
see if anybody's jumping in on the chat on this one. Greatest Raptor of all time. James Cope, by the way, is saying that he's got the Raptors. Go, James. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Josh Wilson is fired up
about the Daniel Tice hype. Yeah. Send me a message saying he caught the Daniel Tice shout out before he hopped off. So we got that in there.
Yeah. Daniel Tice had a follow up on basically a hit off his head and the ball went in, and Wilson's taking credit for that. But that's cool. I mean, if that's gonna get your guy in the conversation, it's cool. Lowry, by the way, out early here with 10 of the Raptors' 14. Marc Gasol with the other 4, and Kemba's got 5. Brown, Tice, Tatum, all with 2, and Marcus Smart's got a free throw to give you your 12 points for your Boston Celtics. Their first quarter, 6:25 to go, as you can see here. And again,
I think it is worth pointing out really quick.
Yeah.
Hunter did say logically it's Lowry, but his heart wants Vince. So it's like, if we're speaking logically, it is Kyle Lowry. I feel like this needs to be a poll. I feel like I should throw one of those up real quick just for the duration of this stream.
Do it.
Just so we can have, I'll throw that up right now.
Do it. On Twitter, it's at NICOLASHENKEL. I thought you were living in Detroit, Nicholas. I didn't know you were a Chicago guy now.
Yep. My girlfriend and I, we moved out to Chicago last August. So we have been here for 1 year officially now. Yeah, it's been absolutely terrific.
You're gonna have to carry the stream for 1 second here because I got to go get my Michelob Ultra Fan out of the freezer, which is gonna explode, which I just remembered. So, all you, Nicholas, take us home for 2 minutes.
All right, here we go. So I guess I just want to expand a little bit on the as far as I guess with the Vince Carter and the Kyle Lowry stuff. Like I said, with Vince Carter, I mentioned to Mark earlier, with that globally, I guess and I guess nationally for Canada, he sort of elevated the sport. He brought it to another level and kind of made it cool to be a basketball player, I guess. With Kyle Lowry, though, obviously you have the 8 years of the win total. You actually have that championship. And, you know, it's difficult to say. If LeBron never played in the East, right, if he was always in the West, it's like, could Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan actually have brought Toronto an additional championship? Really interesting to think about. And I think just his overall impact on the game has been insane. And a guy who, and now Mark did admittedly bring up a pretty interesting point. You know, is he a guy who your life is on the line, right? Are you going to give Kyle Lowry the ball? Are you going to, like, no matter what the play is, like, is that really who you want taking the shot? Admittedly, no. Could I say the same thing about DeMar DeRozan? Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily feel comfortable with him with the ball either. But would you feel comfortable with Vince Carter? You know what I mean? Like, I'd feel probably more comfortable giving it to Siakam. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, with Kyle Lowry, no, I guess it's not that he's not clutch, but it's like, and I guess it's not that he's a killer either. It's just like, I don't want him shooting the ball if my life is on the line. I don't know how else to articulate it, or if that even makes sense.
Well, the reason why the Raptors were able to win the NBA championship because they finally had that guy. And by the way, it's interesting. We're talking about the greatest Raptor of all time, and we're not mentioning Kawhi. And yes, I get it. He was only there for 1 year, but I don't know. You won a championship with him. Maybe that's all it takes to be the greatest Raptor of all time. But
yeah, well,
you know, I mean, so that's why when push came to shove with LeBron, they didn't have that guy, and
right.
and it just got uglier and uglier. To the point that they got swept and Casey got fired. He ended up in Detroit, which was ridiculous. By the way, shout out to our guy, Alex Snow, who got me in to the Michelob Ultra fan seat game with, I pull in there, Nick, and I'm really not doing a good job here.
There you go.
There it is. I pull into my fan zone, and there's Scottie Pippen and there's BJ Armstrong. We're all hanging out. And I got a 12-pack of Michelob Ultra for my work here. So I wanted to give him some love here tonight. I mean, that's big time, right?
Yeah.
So you can see it on the court if you're watching, for those of you who are, you know, watching the game and hanging out with us. And we really appreciate it, by the way, here. 5 minutes to go here in the first quarter, tied at 18. But Michelob Ultra's jumped on this, and people are loving it. And, you know, obviously it's not like you're see the game like it sort of looks like on the screen. Was sitting there, you're just watching it on your computer, but the people that are in your room hanging out with you watching the league, it's good marketing right there. It was fun to do, and it was cool, you know, obviously Pippen and BJ being there. It's like, you know, you get be like, for you it'd be like all of a sudden we got Blake and we got, you know, they're hanging out and watching the game with you. It's awesome, right?
Yeah, it's been. I got to have something kind of similar. I've gotten to play PlayStation with Luke Kennard a few times, which has been like kind of insane for people who follow me on Twitter. Like it's not really news. Like him and I are like, I don't want to say best friends, but Luke Kennard and I are pretty cool. You know, we had this on Pistons Twitter. There was like this you know, this vote to determine who was the top Pistons Twitter account. You know, we had 64, all of the best Twitter accounts. I actually won the whole thing. Now, thanks to, so we got to this Elite Eight matchup, and it was Duncan and I in the Elite Eight. He's a writer for Forbes. He's on the part of the Pistons beat, and had to pull out the big guns. He pulled out Tobias Harris and Boban in support of him, like they were tweeting like vote for Duncan. So I talked to Luke. And I'm like, hey, man, like, are you going to help me out with this? And he's like, absolutely. So he quote tweets it. He's like, hey, go vote for Nick. I'm still losing. And he goes, if Nick wins, I'll give away a pair of signed shoes. And I was like, that'll do it. And that's when he got Boban to jump in. And everybody loves Boban, right? So I'm like, God, like, now I'm going to lose. There's about 45 minutes left in the poll. I'm down. I'm like messaging Luke, like, man, like, we lost this. He messages me. He goes, hold on, I'm working on something. 2 minutes later, I get a notification, Blake Griffin, and the tweet is still on his thing. You just have to scroll a little bit. He quote tweets the poll, and he goes, if at Nicholas Hinkle wins, I'll give away a signed jersey. And so my girlfriend was sitting where I am right now. She was on a conference call. And I'm like, I jump up and I'm like trying not to scream, but I'm like, oh my gosh. And eventually I did win. We did give away a signed jersey. We did give away a pair of signed sneakers. Now everybody thinks that I'm best friends with Blake Griffin. I am not. I'm pretty cool with Luke. So I guess comparatively, is it really the same thing as what you're talking about? Not really, because I didn't get to drink beer with them, but still pretty cool stuff.
No, your story is 7,000 times cooler than mine, and that's freaking awesome. How did Luke and you connect?
So, I've been like, I don't really know how to articulate it. Like draft night 2017, I remember tweeting okay, so at the time I was growing out a mustache and I loved it. And I said, if we draft Donovan Mitchell over Luke Kennard, I'm going to shave my mustache. I'm going to be so mad. That didn't age perfectly well, admittedly.
No.
But we did draft Luke, right? Like we got the guy that at the time I wanted to. Like I loved him. And so I was like fangirling him over him for years. Like I loved him. You know, I remember he DM'd me happy birthday last year and like it was so cool. But you know, recently because of what I do on Twitter, like what we talked about earlier, I'm like cool with a lot of his family, a lot of his cousins, like his mom follows me. They're all really nice to me. They sent me like a Luke Kennard, like draft night hat and like a whole bunch of stuff real cool. Well, one day I tweeted that I was going to play some Call of Duty and I asked if any of my followers wanted to join. And Luke's cousin messages me and he's like, hey, Luke and I need a third. Like, do you want to join? And I was like, what? Like, I'm sorry, what? And yeah, I thought I was being like catfish because I get into the thing and like Luke's mic isn't working. And I'm like, okay, like what are we really doing here? And sure enough, no, he was there and we've gotten to talk a handful of times and he asked me advice on how to grow a beard and like it was cool. And yeah, no, it's been awesome. So just through his family, I've been able to become pretty cool with him.
For the record here, let's just ask the chat, whose story was cooler? Mine sitting in a room drinking Michelob Ultra with Scotty and BJ, but not really having much rapport. But you know, Scotty is of course, you know, top 50 all-time great. BJ Armstrong, 3-time NBA champion. Or Nick having support from Luke and getting Blake Griffin in there. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, that's like real friendship. But I was with, you know, bigger names at the end of the day. So who was cooler, Nick or Carm? Throwing it out there. Thank you, Hunter. Never mind, Hunter. He started out with Carm's story decent. Nick's story great. Nick's story's incredible.
Tweeting hashtag vote Nick or hashtag vote Carm, and we'll just like American Idol or something like that, and we'll figure it out later. Is that generally your go-to beer?
No, not at all. In fact, I thought that Michelob Ultra was straight nasty, and I'm not, and I'm not a huge beer drinker in general. I mean, that's not saying I don't enjoy it, but you know, one or two once in a while. But I've actually really enjoyed the Ultra out of nowhere. Like I'm finding it to be very delicious. So I'm in. James Cope, by the way, is on your side. You want me to tell my LeBron story?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your LeBron story? I gotta hear about this.
I think he's talking about the year that they eliminated the Bulls, the Jimmy Butler year, and Thibodeau and everyone died. You know, Tibbs gets fired, Rose gets traded. It's all over. Bulls were up 2-1 in that series. LeBron hits a game winner from the corner, and the Heat win the next two games, and the Bulls have never been the same. But so, you know, that year, nobody was expecting the Cavs to do anything. And LeBron kept on, you know, basically talking about how, you know, nobody expects anything from us, nobody expects anything from us, whatever. So after they won the series at the podium, I said to him, you know, I forget exactly my first question, but I was like, you know, what do you think your chances are going forward? And do you feel like an underdog? And he looks at me and he's like, you know, he's at the podium and I'm, you know, sitting there at the, you know, it's not like a one-on-one thing. Like I'm in this big room. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, underdog, me? And I'm like, well, I don't think so. You know, but you keep on saying it.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, I would never be an underdog. I'm like, well, I mean, do you think you're a favorite then? He's like, well, I think we got a great chance. And they ended up going to the finals and losing to the Warriors that year. But it was all over Sports Center and all over the place, like Underdog, me. If you go,
I was gonna say, I'm like, I swear to God, I remember this quote. That was you.
Yeah, that was me and Bronny. But I've been covering the league, or whatever. Covering is strong, but going to Bulls games and as a reporter for a long, long time. And when LeBron came in, he was the most fun. Like he would run into the locker room after games. He'd be like, all right, let's do this interview real quick because I want to watch myself on Sports Center. Like 22-year-old LeBron. That was him.
Yeah.
And as guys get older and they don't want to watch themselves on Sports Center anymore, it gets more and more serious. But I've always enjoyed him. He he looks at you when you ask him a question. He'll give you like 4 looks throughout the answer, and he'll try to give you a decent response.
Yeah.
So I and the guy, I've never talked to somebody who has the recall that he has. Like he'll talk about one play and it'll be like, well, in Bulls terms, like, well, Jimmy was over there, Derek was in the corner, so I knew that if I drove with the right, that he could. So and he'll lay out the. I'm like, okay, that was one play in a 2-hour basketball game. You're able to. You're a genius. You're a basketball genius that you can remember exactly what was going on. I knew that Butler was going to go for the swipe, so I had to put the ball over here. I'm like, how are you computing that?
Yeah.
So it's interesting just to listen. I think it's one thing that gets missed on LeBron because he's such a physically superior player, but the mental side is actually what's impressed me maybe the most with him, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I'm learning this week, there's a lot that I actually don't know about you, because I thought that I knew a pretty decent amount just from like Twitter and, from talking to Josh Wilson, a bunch of different people. I learned that you are friends with Nick Wright. Didn't know that, which like blew my mind. And now I'm learning that you had like a LeBron interaction that I'm actually familiar with without having known that it was actually you.
Yeah. Well, Nick and I did radio, and when I say that, like, I got hired to go down to Kansas City in 2009. I wanted to get more airtime, so I was looking for a place to do that, and so I just got hired in Kansas City, and they're like, you're gonna do the updates and host at night, hopefully. At least that was the goal, and you'll be a contributor on the show, and you also have to be the producer, which I was not wild about, but that was how I got my foot in the door. And his name is Nick Wright. And I knew some Syracuse guys, and they were like telling me, "Oh, you're gonna like him." But I get down there, and for Nick's like 27 at that point, and I'm older than him. What is this, 2009? So, I'm 35, 36 years old, and so I'm older than this guy. He's got a 10 times million better job than me. I've got to get along with him, and put my ego aside and all that type of stuff. But and then he's this funky looking dude. With his pants down and his ankles, like Nick did not dress well back at that time. And I'm like, who in the world is this guy? And he would fidget a lot during, when he's doing the show. And then it took me about 2 weeks to realize, like, oh, so this dude's the most talented guy that I've worked with.
Yeah.
I had, it wasn't like I hadn't worked in, I was working at WGN in Chicago. I was working with David Kaplan, who's had an incredible career. So it's a hell of a statement by me. I mean, Cap's, phenomenal. So, but I'm like, this guy is, and Cap by the way, hates when I say this shit. So I apologize, Cappy, but that's my rankings. And Nick's a great dude. He helped me out a ton and through the old media journey. So, and it was cool to have him on Sport and Order this week, even though he didn't even retweet it once, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm calling him every day until he does. So, but right now we got beef. We got straight beef, Nick. I got beef, Nick. I've got beef with Nick.
So I remember I was sitting here and sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was sitting here and my girlfriend was just hanging out. I was like watching Netflix or something like that. I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see Sport and Order and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot it. Like it's Monday, cool. And I see Nick, because usually it's just like people within the office, things like that. But I see Nick Wright and I'm like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? I open it. I'm like, oh my God, like that's actually Nick Wright. I'm freaking out. Like, what in the world? How did they do this? So I remember I had messaged Josh. I'm like, hey, what is this all about? Like, how big time are you guys? And he's like, and he explained to me, he's like, well, yeah, him and Mark, like they knew each other back in the day. So as far as Nick goes, Nick Wright, more like Nick Wrong. Well, okay, Hunter. I listen, I get grilled for this all the time. Like Nick Wright is genuinely one of my favorite people in the media right now. It's gotten to a point where like I put him and Doris Burke like in the same paradigm. I don't know what they had to have said to know that I probably agree with what they said. Like I remember this was probably like a week ago. Everybody was tweeting about something that Doris Burke said on the air. And I was like, I don't know what she said, but she's right. Like whatever it was, she's probably right. And I always think the same thing about Nick. And I think a lot of it stems from, I think the way that most people, now Mark, obviously you're different here. The way that most people found out who Nick was from all the LeBron stuff that he does. And I'm not going to call him like a LeBron apologist, but like he's a big LeBron fan, right? Like that's where a lot of his, like, I think that's pretty fair to say, like it kind of put him on the map a little bit on a national scale. Like he would go on to The Herd with Colin and like they would just talk about LeBron. Like that's how I found out about him, and I always really appreciated that as somebody who believes that LeBron is the greatest basketball player ever. Which living in Chicago and having that belief doesn't often bode well. Like if you tell anybody that lives here that you think LeBron is the greatest of all time, that doesn't really go well. Nick Wright. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I instantly then ask when people say such an erroneous statement like that, Nick, I'm like, when were you born? And then you would answer that you were 6 when Chauncey was in there. And I'm like, okay, fine. So that's why you have that opinion, because you didn't see it. But I get it. I get it. He's definitely the best basketball player you've seen. Although, by the way, whatever. I still got love for my man Kobe. I just do. But I'm not going to make the argument that he was better than LeBron. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, it's a generational thing, right? Like, of course I haven't known an NBA in my life without LeBron James. What else am I supposed to say, right? Like anybody, listen, man, in 20 years, when I'm, in the position that you're in, there's a player out there who's better than LeBron is now, like, I'm going to sit there and whether or not I believe it, I'm going to say, no, LeBron was the greatest player ever. Now, hopefully I have better perspective in that, and I can actually recognize and acknowledge, like, when there is actually a better player. Because I think, I don't mean the irony here is palpable. I'm wearing a Bulls shirt. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's actually a Bulls shirt that I got when I was the only time I've ever been to United Center. I got like the t-shirt cannon. I got a free t-shirt. So, like it's always going to be a generational thing. Like people who are growing up now are probably going to end up saying that like Luka is the best player ever. And at age 20, it's like, maybe, you know what I mean? But yeah, no matter who you grow up with, like that's what your answer is going to be.
Yeah. So I would just hope that people of your generation will remember the Mavs and JJ Barea shutting down LeBron and putting up 8 points. I just would hope you remember that type of stuff.
Let's talk about it. I'll quickly gloss over this. There was one thing that happened in LeBron's career that to me is indefensible, and that was 2011. I got nothing for you. That's inexcusable, right? Like, but the people who, parade around 3 and 6, I don't respect those people at all.
No.
I guess that's not what you're doing right now. Like, I get that. But if you want to say that, like Dallas was inexcusable, you're right. I got nothing for you there.
Listen, if Michael had gotten injured in Game 4 of the 1991 NBA season, and he had never won one championship, I would still be sitting here today telling you he was the greatest player of all time.
Fair.
That's what I saw. So I think championships are vastly overrated. I mean, at the end of the day, it matters. You got to be the best player on the best team and lead your team to the whole thing. And I mean, LeBron's greatest accomplishment by a zillion miles is winning with Cleveland. That was incredibly ridiculous that they were able to pull that off against a 73-win Warriors team that, albeit was hurt and Steph was hobbled and all that type of stuff, but it was still just ridiculous they were able to come back and do it. So, I mean, they matter. but I'm not gonna like people are like, well, if he gets a 6, he'll be just as good. Like, no. I've watched the whole career. It doesn't. You don't. Who doesn't know what type of player he is? Ridiculous basketball player. Like, he doesn't need to. He's not on the prove it train to me anymore. Although I will say this is where he does trump Mike, and this is part of doing it later in life and whatnot. The way he takes care of his body.
Yes.
And I mean, Mike was still doing it at 35 now, and even at 40 with the Wizards, which he gets cracked on. I mean, he had games where he put up 51 and then he put up 45, and he's doing it, on a bad knee. It was still ridiculous. But LeBron's, insane commitment to, whatever he eats, whatever his workouts are, how he's kept himself still this explosive at this age is insane. So I give him. I sometimes wonder how the hell he's doing it.
HGH probably.
I don't want to put that on him at all, but it's like, how is this possible? Like, how it doesn't make sense. Who gets more athletic as they get older? Now, he's not more athletic, but he's pretty damn athletic. Are you frozen? I think you're frozen. Yes, you're frozen. Okay. Oh, no, you're not. Okay.
We're back. Yeah, sorry. We've had like 3 internet outages in our area in the last 2 days. And B, someone's working on our roof right now. So there's been a lot going on. I was a little bit worried about it, but we're back. So let me just put a bow on this whole thing. Well, actually, let's do a quick thing here at the end of this first quarter. We start the broadcast by talking about where is Kemba Walker at in terms of how he's being rated. Dude's at 17 points right now, and everyone else the most is at 3. I think he's 5 of 6. 2 or 3 from deep. Like, Kemba Walker's going deep. I think the most interesting thing right now is that Toronto has only played 7 guys so far, and the Celtics have played 9. So I'm curious to see, like, Brad Stevens' minute management is through the roof right now, something that Mike Budenholzer could probably take some notes from. So I'm really interested to see moving forward if because Jason Tatum's only 1 of 6. I didn't realize he was that bad.
The fact that you just brought up Budenholzer, I want to jump on that for a second. Like, I mean, I'm watching the game last night. Like, is Jason Kidd taking over coaching this team again? I mean, what is going on here in Milwaukee? Their offense looks terrible. They don't look any bit a championship team right now. I can't pinpoint exactly what Budenholzer is doing wrong, other than the fact that there just seems to be no flow, and we're just going to give Giannis the ball at the top of the key, pass the 3-point line, and say, go do it. Like we've always. Is there any level? Put him in the post, do something. I don't know. Come on, Mike Budenholzer. This shouldn't be the case, but right now it looks real bad.
It's almost like, here's the thing. Do you put him in the post? Yeah, in an ideal world, you do. You can't do that right now because you have to give Miami a lot of credit. The way that they're defending is it's insane. You get LeBron. What am I talking about? You get Giannis in that post-up situation. And generally what he's going to do is he's just going to kick it out to somebody along the perimeter if someone forms the Giannis wall, right, like Toronto did last year and like Miami is doing right now. But the problem is that he's being so reckless around the basket right now. And what that's causing, it's weird because he's been officiated a little bit suspiciously since this bubble has started, in that he's committing more fouls on offense than he has pretty much ever. And it's kind of weird. And you could argue that he's just finally getting called for things that he should have been called for in the past. But Budenholzer's minute management has been absolutely terrible. You're in the fourth quarter and you're playing Kyle Korver, Pat Connaughton, and Dante DiVincenzo on the floor at the same time. What the hell are we doing? I'm led to believe that the Milwaukee Bucks are a championship contending team. And this is the thing, this is what we're learning about. I don't mean to get like mad about this, like legitimately mad about this, but somebody who has gone to war for the Milwaukee Bucks for like the better part of the last 6 months, telling everybody how damn good they are and that they're going to go to the finals and that it's not even close and they're the best team in basketball. Mike Budenholzer, time and time again, I need to calm down because I'm getting really mad. Mike Budenholzer is showing us time and time again that he's fraudulent as hell in the playoffs. You look at a 2015 Atlanta Hawks team who wins 60 games. Like, people forget that the Atlanta Hawks were that good that year. They had 4 All-Stars, Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, Al Horford. I think Paul Millsap was an All-Star that year. Like, they had a really randomly good squad, right? A Mike Budenholzer-led squad. But we all knew the same thing. When they get into the playoffs, when they play LeBron, it's done. They're over because they couldn't adjust, and also it was LeBron. Then you look at Milwaukee last year; they win 60 basketball games, and what happens when they get go against Toronto? They fold, right? Like they can't win a game, and they can't adjust beyond this wall. You're seeing the same thing here. Like Mike Budenholzer has a game plan, and that's just what he sticks to. And he doesn't he's really good at coaching regular season teams like game by game basis, and that's it.
It's like a Mike Fratello going old school level of being a coach. As you're talking, I'm just watching what's going on here, and it's just back and forth. Just folly after folly right now. Jaylen Brown with a terrible alley-oop. Now Siakam running the other way and gets fouled by Tatum. He's going to shoot a couple free throws here. And it's this looks like a sweep of a series here, Nick. I got to tell you, Boston just looks better to me. The Raptors are struggling for offense. They look out of sorts. And Nick Nurse, by the way, I'm not putting this on you. The fact that Toronto won 53 games this year was an incredible accomplishment. This team's been overachieving. So losing to Boston wouldn't be, anything that you have to apologize for. I expect the Celtics to win this series, but right now it's dicey out there for Toronto. Kyle Lowry's he might have to have a 50 ball here for this game to go Toronto's way.
Absolutely. I think, let me ask you this. Did you find yourself in the camp that Toronto would be fine without Kawhi? Not that they didn't need Kawhi, but that they would be able to figure it out without him, because admittedly, I thought that the playoffs would be survivable without Kawhi. But I didn't think that they would fold this hard. And I guess this is actually earlier when I said I had two questions, this was actually my second question. So I guess this is sort of two of them.
No, I mean,
go ahead.
No, wow, tough three by Jason Tatum. I think that was in the face of Lowry. That was a tough shot, Boston by 5. Look, if you had said before the year, how's Toronto going to do? I would have told you they weren't going to make the playoffs. So I was dead wrong. And then coming into the playoffs, I would have told you that exactly this was going to happen. I wouldn't have. Their first round matchup was, that was cake, because you're talking about teams that didn't want to be there. But, paying, when I was reading up on this series and just getting ready for, what was going to be, it just seemed obvious to me that, like, if I was sitting there, like, I don't gamble, but if I did, I'd put a whole bunch of money on Boston right now. Boston's been playing great basketball for one. And at some point, cute stories like this, when you don't have your star, it comes to an end. And this is, hey, I could be proven wrong here as Robert Williams gets tied up at the hoop by Serge Ibaka. It's going to be Toronto basketball. We're only 2 games in. I could obviously be proven woefully wrong, but I'd be very surprised. That was great defense by Ibaka.
Listen, it's 2020. It's not 1975. The Raptors shooting 23% from the perimeter. You can't win a basketball game that way. Here's my biggest concern with Toronto. And again, maybe this is a point that has been made. I just haven't seen it. So I don't want to claim that this is original. Do you worry a little bit about the Raptors in that they win a championship with Kawhi, and that's kind of all the fans care about? Like, hey, we got one, right? Do you worry that maybe for the next, decade that they're going to revert back to those, LeBronto Raptors where we think there's something in the regular season, but then they just flare out in the playoffs? Like last year, people wouldn't even buy into it when they won the East, right? Yeah. People still wouldn't believe it. And they had every reason to, right? They had no reason to believe that Toronto was going to actually do what they did in the finals, despite Golden State being so damaged. But do you get what I'm saying? Do you worry a little bit that if you're a Raptors fan, are we going to see a repeat of the last decade or the 2020s?
It's an interesting question because they do have that championship in them. So there is a lasting effect to that. And I like Siakam a lot. I think everybody does. And I think he's, still scratching the surface of what's he going to be. But, you're not talking about them being irrelevant. You're talking about them being a good basketball team that loses the playoffs. Yeah. So I think that will be the case. I think that's spot on of what they're going to be. Which there's no shame in that, by the way. Everyone's like if we take Chicago, it's like, well, I want to win a championship. It's like, look, that's cool. But being a team that's consistently in the playoffs, like Utah or the Spurs have been, obviously the Spurs won their share of rings too, but just a team that's always in the mix and is hoping, somehow, some way the ball will bounce there, whatever, an injury will come at the right time and they'll be able to squeak on through. That's not, it's not sexy. You're not, but it's a respectable NBA team is what I'm getting at. And I think that's what the Raptors are going to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sure, we all want to win the title, but they won a title. And so now you're just, we're a team that's consistently in the playoffs in the most likely upper half of the Eastern Conference for the next couple of years. I got no problem with that if I'm a Raptors fan. I'm looking forward to being competitive and being in the mix. And maybe we will get lucky in the draft and find just the right guy, in the 20s, and all of a sudden he turns into an impact player, and now we're actually back in the championship conversation. That's really what's going to take, Yeah. And they need an influx of talent to get back all the way to the top, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, as a Pistons fan, I don't want people, if you're a Raptors fan watching this, don't forget you do have Stanley Johnson on your team, and there is a heap of potential left. I'm telling you, man. And Mark, I don't know how much you know because there's not much for you to know about Stanley Johnson. There is good basketball in there somewhere. Like, I know for a fact that there is. Like, I don't care if it's year 4 in Detroit and like he's having trouble making layups. Like, I don't care. Like, I know for a fact I got grilled because I wrote an article saying, like, should Detroit bring him back? And everyone was like, no, we should not do that. I just wanted to very quickly give some returns, some early returns, 30 minutes into our poll. I said greater Toronto Raptor of all time just because I didn't want to put greatest. And then people would be like, well, it's actually Kawhi. So I just put, like between the two. Kyle Lowry does have 61% of the vote. And there have been 211 votes so far. So it looks like I may be correct here that Kyle Lowry is the greatest Toronto Raptor of all
time. You very well may be, Nick. I like that. That's. I mean, if the poll goes this way, then we got to say that indeed you were correct. Let's see here. There's James Code. Raptors are back to the team that can't get out of the East. Okay. Nathaniel says Celtics in 7, including tonight. So. Hey, all right. There's some Raptors confidence at least to make this a
blind optimism.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And Nathaniel saying, that my co-host on one of the shows also said in 7, but also pointed out that if the Bucks and Raptors lose Game 3, Game 4 will be scary. They lose tonight. It ain't going 7. It's going 4. But
yeah,
I mean, we're one possession game. Toronto, the basketball. Lowry to the hole, greatest Raptor of all time, lays it in and around Marcus Smart. 1-point game. That's impressive. Okay, I see you, Kyle Lowry. He's feeling the motivation somewhere.
Let me ask you this. I saw this question just before we hopped on here.
Yeah.
I thought this actually it might be a little bit different. Well, maybe it's not. What was the last live sporting event that you got to attend?
Wow. I'm gonna look it up because it's just weird to think about now.
Yeah.
Because I went to the United Center right before they were closing it down, and it was a weird feeling. Let's look here. I think they were playing the Cavs. I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
quite
I'm
the
right.
Barn burner there.
I'm right. I lasted 1 quarter, which is season media vet. Just But yeah, the last game of the year that was played at home, Tuesday, March 10th against Cleveland. Bulls won 108-103. I was there for the first quarter, and it was straight bizarre. Like the pandemic's starting to kick in. You're still allowed to go to games. You're feeling a little nervous. I definitely wasn't wearing a mask, and it was, Bulls basketball was so agonizingly boring this year.
Yeah.
That I'm like, you know what, I'm getting on out of here. But yeah, Tuesday, March 10th, Do you have one for yourself?
The last one that I went to, I don't exactly have the date. I don't have it locked down. I know that it was in February. I went to my girlfriend got me. It was a Christmas present because, like we mentioned, the Pistons and the Bucks are like my two main teams. I got to go to LCA to see the Pistons play the Bucks, and it was really cool because obviously we had to drive from Chicago to Detroit. We stayed at Motor City Casino, which I had actually never been there before. So that was quite cool. Went over to Little Caesars Arena. And Mark, I don't know if you've ever been there. I guess there's maybe no reason for you to have ever been there, but Little Caesars Arena is great. Pistons have a great new home. I do miss the Palace a lot, but yeah, I did get to see. I did finally get to see us play in person, which was very cool.
So as you're breaking up a little bit here, I'm going to jump in on my one trip to Detroit to see a basketball game. And let me just see if I can get the date on this. So you with us, Nick? You there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. So we drove up to the Palace. I feel like it was a weeknight, and it was Jordan's first preseason game with the Wizards coming back, and he was going to play like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going. This is so, and the first play of the game, he swatted someone from behind. And he palmed the ball, and I'm like, oh my God, this is I don't even know what to feel right now. My guy is wearing blue and whatever. And I'm gonna be in. I'm a Wizard fan. He would come back and Wizards play the Bulls, and I didn't understand how Bulls fans were rooting for the Bulls. I'm like, kidding? We're rooting for Mike, right? This is universal.
Right.
I think he played like 16 minutes that night. I also drove to Cleveland to see him play in a Wizards uniform, and he had a game winner that night. That was sweet as hell. Top of the key. And I saw him play in Washington a couple of times. But that was my one trip to the Palace, baby. I wish I
I miss it, man. When they demoed it, just a month or two ago, heartbreaking stuff. We had a few guys write about all-time memories, like some of the best performances that happened at the Palace. It's weird because if the most recent time that you've been here was when Mike was playing with the Wizards, it's been a while, right? But the last time that I was there was 2017, I think. What was the first year that KD was with the Warriors? I think that was 2017. That was the last time I ever went there. It was the farewell season for the Palace. Broke my heart. It was because it was 2016 they go 73-9 and the Cavs win. So that means it was that summer. So 2016, 2017, that season was when So that was the Palace was my favorite. Didn't really feel like it was time to leave yet. But they were building the arena in Detroit, and it was like might as well move them downtown, right next to the Tigers, right next to the Lions, same arena as the Wings. It makes sense. LCA is a beautiful arena, but I miss the Palace dearly every single day.
I did not know that it was called LCA, Little Caesars Arena. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been to Comerica. I went to Old Tiger Stadium 1998 when Sosa was hitting 20 bombs in June.
Yeah.
That was sweet. The visitors clubhouse, maybe it was the same going on the other side too. But when you walked from the dugout to the clubhouse, it was like maybe the ceiling was 6 feet. Like you literally were ducking.
Oh wow.
That thing was built for munchkins. It was unbelievable. Yeah. The Tiger Stadium was the coolest place. That place was awesome. I don't know.
What's really cool is since we moved here a year ago, the first job that I actually got here in Chicago. Now, obviously, I was writing with FanSided at the time, but I also, I needed another job. So I started working at Wrigley Field. and I was just working inside of their retail space. And so like getting to be inside of Wrigley, like during game days and like, even during the off season, like just walking around Wrigley Field and like, being under the field and like bumping into some players, and like, it was insane. Like now I Mark, I know you do some stuff with the White Sox, right? But obviously you're probably pretty familiar with some of the Cubs. I was in an elevator with Nico Horner last year. Like it was just us. And like, I don't want to talk about baseball, during a basketball stream. I'll just quickly get this story out. It's during his first 5 games. Like he just broke the record for like most RBIs inside of a player's first 5 games, like ever, right? It's just him and I after a game in an elevator. And I'm like freaking out. Like, Nick, don't say anything. Like, don't be that guy. You're a quote unquote employee. And we get out of the elevator, and I'm like, please go. You can go first. Like, it's okay. You're Nico Horner. You're the greatest second baseman of all time. So he walks out, and like he was like, thanks. He walks out. Here was the thing. We were walking like side by side after that for like 2 blocks as I'm walking home, and I didn't say a word to him. And to this day, it kind of bothers me. But yeah, being at Wrigley, like it was so cool, man. Like
yeah. Wow. Okay, I think Nick's audio just cut out for a second. So, Nick, if you can hear me, we can't hear you. So I'm just gonna jump on in here. But
perfect.
Oh, there we go. Your audio cut out for 1 second here, but like it was right when you were saying that you regretted not saying anything to Nico, and I can completely relate. Where this is my opportunity, and what am I going to say? And then it just feels super awkward. And
right.
I had Ryan Dempster on the Windy City podcast. If you want to check that out, everybody. Thank you so much. But and Demp was on the team, and 04 to 09, I want to say, or whatever. But it was before one of those, before a game, he had gone to Starbucks, and he's bringing back like 4 drinks. And so I'm walking on the concourse, and here he is with his 4 Starbucks, and he's got this confident Ryan Dempster walk, and I'm sitting there like, should I say something to Demp? I don't know what I should say. And so I jumped in with something, and whatever it was not good. And it did not, our relationship, we didn't get tighter. So those opportunities are delicate. Like they probably don't want to talk to you. What is the choice? Are we talking hoop, or are we making a joke? If it's the joke, is it going to be funny, or are we whatever, baseball? Anyway, Marc Gasol, by the way, with a layup, 47-39. The Raptors getting in the lane here. That was a tough shot around a couple of Celtics. Boston by 8. Now
I did miss what was the Fred VanVleet technical? What was that about? I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't catch it either. I missed it.
Okay.
But I did see you, Quacky. Let's go Celtics. I see you, Quacky. Thanks for joining the chat. James Cope saying I got to go. It's been fun. Hopefully back in the 4th. You're not here anymore, James. I want to thank you anyway. And Hunter's reminding me to talk about that. Yes, I did used to work at Wrigley Field for many years, Nick. I was an elite, let's call it, seat vendor, hawking everything from cotton candy all the way to the Budweiser guy. It's the only career where I actually did reach the pinnacle. So I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Jason Tatum with a step back 3 off the front of the rim, Raptors the rebound. So I've seen Wrigley in all its forms, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's just always special in my heart. Even though
watching that ivy begin to come back every spring is just, oh my God. It's because I'm working there still when it's December and January, right? Like I'm still there and the field's just there. But like then you start to, oh man, it's beautiful. I guess just to bring it back to basketball for a second, I did in Detroit have a run-in with Dan Gilbert.
Okay.
That was bizarre, and to this day, I'm still not a big Dan Gilbert fan because of how that interaction went. So my brother and I, so at the time, there was a new, I gotta get this out, hopefully I don't cut out again, but There was a new Nike store that had just opened up in downtown Detroit, and my brother and I were currently employees of Nike back in the city that we lived in. So we wanted to go check it out. While we buy some stuff and go ahead. What?
No, I was just saying Marcus Smart hit the 3 to put the Celtics up by 9. Keep going.
So we're buying some stuff, we're checking out, and I look over at the door and I see this guy, and I tap my brother. I'm like, Matthew, who is this guy? Like, I know his face. I'm blanking on his name. Who is this guy? It's making me mad. He like squints at him. He goes, that's Dan Gilbert. I'm like, no, it's not. He goes, yeah, it is. So we're following him, and he's with his 2 kids. We're following him for like 2 blocks, but like at a safe distance. This is just downtown Detroit. My dad is a big Cavs fan because he works in Cleveland all the time. So we call him and we're like, Dad, Dan Gilbert's right in front of us. What do we do? And he's like, leave him alone. He's with his kid. Like, stop being weird. And we're like, all right. So he goes into this store. We leave, whatever. And then it's like, I don't know, maybe an hour later, we're still downtown. And did I cut out? Am I still here?
No, you're good. Fred VanVleet for 3 makes it a 52-47 game. That was a sweet shot.
That was pretty. Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah. We're sitting there. You know, we're still shopping around. This is like an hour later. We turn a corner, and we see walking our way once again Dan Gilbert with his 2 kids. I lean to my brother. I'm like, if you don't say something, we're going to regret it for the rest of our life. He's like, right. So we agreed when he walked by, go Cavs. Just say that, don't bottom. Just say go Cavs. So he walks right by us. We both look at him. In perfect synchronization, we go Cavs. And he looks up at us and he goes, and just keeps walking.
What?
I was like, boo, boo, be nicer than that. So yeah, that sucked.
You know why he didn't like that? Because he wanted it to be about him. If you had said, "What's up, Dan?"
Yeah.
He would have been all in.
I guess,
but the fact that you repped his team, that wasn't good enough for good old Dan.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that's disgusting. Wow. Fred VanVleet down the lane, swatted by Jaylen Brown and Daddy Tice. All right, Boston up by 5. We're under a minute to go here, as you see, before the first half comes to an end.
The Fred VanVleet stock has been dropping a little bit as these playoffs go on. And I think it's really interesting as a Pistons fan to see how that's going to impact this free agency. Because I would make the argument that maybe Dragic's fate in free agency is maybe a little bit more interesting than Fred VanVleet's. But, you know, I know Pistons fans are really interested in him. You know, the way he showed up in the finals last year, specifically in Game 6. I'm really interested to see how much exactly you pay Fred VanVleet this summer.
Oh, he's Lowry bangs his way down the lane, missed the layup, rebound to Jaylen Brown, 7-point game. Celtics can play for 1 after Jason Tatum, by the way, got in the lane again with a sweet righty finish. When his game's going well, it looks like it just comes so easy for him. Literally a contested 3 with a hand in his face somehow looks easy for that guy. I would not want to be Kemba for 3. Got it. Wow, that makes your 57-47 at halftime. That was a great pass.
What does that give him for the game? Let me check that. Just trying to pull up the box score really quick. Kemba at 21 at the half. Huh.
It feels like he's got 8.
Yeah, I was going to say, that feels like a really quiet 21. I wasn't going to say that out loud because I didn't want to tell on myself, but I agree. It feels like a really quiet 21.
Yeah, and back to VanVleet, I just have a hard time paying a 5'10" guy a ton of money who's not a good player. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to give you $10 million a year for 4 years and feel comfortable, but you know, outside of that, I'm not in. I don't think so. But I bet I'm.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things where it's like so much that you just raised make me believe that the Knicks will probably pay him whatever he wants.
Maybe.
Right? It's going to just seem, oh, here's a guy who you're not sure how much you should pay him. Well, the Knicks are going to write it. Like, here's a blank check, Fred VanVleet. Write whatever number you want on there, and James Dolan will pay it. That's probably what's going to happen.
Well,
I mean, in reality, I don't think he's going to leave Toronto, to be honest. But
in that scenario, if that really was what paid out, if I was a point guard like VanVleet or whoever, I would want to go to New York because Tom Thibodeau will make a way. He will. The one thing that guy can do is make marginal point guards, and I'm not saying that he's marginal, but he will take a DJ Augustine. He'll take VanVleet. He will take Aaron Brooks. He'll take just marginal dudes. He took why is this name blanking on me? Who dunked on Shaquille O'Neal and Nate Robinson?
Nate Robinson, yeah.
He'll make Nate Robinson into a playoff hero. He knows how to run that pick and roll. So guys who could put the ball in the bucket from that position are just absolutely thriving. And VanVleet could do that. I mean, there's no doubt. So I don't know. What do you think of that hire for New York?
Yeah, well, I was actually just kind of going to ask you that same thing. I'm going to be really interested to see who they get in the draft because because I don't remember exactly. Oh, they fell. The Knicks fell to 8? The Knicks are right behind Detroit. So yeah, the Knicks picked at 8. So LaMelo's off the table for them. I think Tibbs is. I mean, Kenny Atkinson was on the board, which I thought maybe would have been maybe a little bit better. And I think the biggest thing with them is actually, I don't mean to regurgitate exactly what you just said, but I am really interested to see who they get at point guard because right now, who's even been playing point guard for the Knicks? Like Alfred Payton? I'm totally blanking on who's been their point guard right now. So yeah, if they end up with a guy like Fred VanVleet, Goran Dragic isn't going to leave, whoever they get, even if it's like Killian Hayes in the draft or something like that, what Tibbs is going to do for them is going to be really fun. I think you have a pretty decent defensive big with Mitchell Robinson, and I think Tibbs is really going to appreciate that. This defensive-minded coach. I don't think it's obviously going to be a year one transition for the Knicks into being something, being a formidable product, but it's definitely one of the probably like a top 3 best case scenario for the Knicks in terms of they could have hired. And I probably again would have put Kenny Atkinson above Tibbs, but at the end of the day, it's like the Knicks got somebody that actually wanted the job. Good for them for once.
So, couple things there. What I've heard on Kenny from the Nets organization, hey, what don't you like about Kenny? What's he not good at? And the response that I was getting was coaching basketball. So they were out big time on Kenny. So that was one. My wife, by the way, is in the other room. We're in a 1-bedroom apartment. She's texting me that I need to keep it down, which is not great.
I'm in a studio apartment. If it makes you feel any better.
There we go.
I'm in kind of a worse. Yeah.
She originally had plans tonight, but then she got a headache, and so she's home. So I'm sorry, baby. I love you.
It's funny. I actually had the opposite thing happen. My girlfriend, she was just sitting here, and then she's like, "Oh shoot, I forgot I had plans tonight," so she had to quickly get up and leave. So I feel a little bit better now that I'm not just sitting here, and the bed's literally right here, and So I guess it's funny, just complete opposite situations there.
Yeah. Well, this is the pandemic we're living in. But we were talking way back at the start of the show, and thank you for all those who hung around that much about the hire of Steve Nash. And what I'm understanding is the way the Nets are looking at this is that that he's got a great pedigree, and that star players are going to respect him. So that was what we were saying with KD and Kyrie. They buy into his leadership skills. They buy into his energy. Which is another thing that I was trying to underline. Like you want that guy around. Like he's just
right.
Right. And I think ultimately what they're saying is look, when you hire good people, you're less likely to go wrong, and they're betting on the individual that he is. They also and they don't know if he can coach.
Right.
They don't know, so they're betting on him. But it's kind of interesting just to hear the logic, right? Like, okay, this guy wants to do it. He's smart. He's likable. He's a lot of what you would want. What are other options here? You know what? I'm gonna roll with the Hall of Famer. I'm hiring Steve Nash.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are like, like you said, he doesn't have any experience. Oh, light just went out. He doesn't have any experience, and that's true. Might want to fix that pretty soon, but I think there are a considerable number of names that maybe could have been put in that position alternatively. But you look at guys like Steve Kerr or Mark Jackson, or I think even Nick Nurse, who they didn't. Well, no, Nick Nurse was an assistant under Dwayne Casey, so he doesn't count. But the former two, they didn't have any experience. So sometimes it can work, right? Like sometimes it can actually benefit you. And sure, there are some names that you could have thrown out there that actually could have been beneficial, but I don't really know that it's the worst thing in the world. Like we mentioned earlier, he has the relationship with some of the players, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. I just, it's difficult to imagine that a guy who played at such a high level won 2 MVPs. He can see the game really well. He can probably explain the game really well. How he's going to coach, though, is going to be really interesting. And obviously, Brooklyn has, vetted their options. They've done their homework a little bit here. It's going to be really interesting to see a 4-year contract, how that can go.
I mean, this might be a lazy comparison, and I hate when people do this, but I'm about to do it myself. And they're nowhere near the talent level on the court, but he feels a little bit like a Steve Kerr to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Kerr was widely respected, a great teammate, and he's not going to be. I don't think Steve Nash is going to be demonstrative on the sideline. And Kerr actually has his moments where he loses it. I kind of maybe they're looking at that as a little bit of a blueprint of what this could possibly look like with Nash. Did you ever watch it? There's a thing on him on Fubo, Steve Nash. You ever watch
I know that exists. I have not watched it though. It's
really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already a fan of Nash beforehand, but they really do. It's a hell of a job on him. And by the way, as you see, we are at the half here. Boston 57, Toronto 47. The Raptors on their way to being down 3-0. And we got a Twitter poll rolling. If you're just joining us, you can go to Nick's Twitter and weigh in on the greatest Raptor of all time. Where are we at right now in the poll?
Yep. So I was just pulling that up. So we are at 1 hour and 4 minutes left. It is getting, Mark, contentious. Okay. We are coming down to the wire here. Kyle Lowry, when we last checked in, was at 61%, finds himself at a slimmer margin, now only at 55%. So this is going to be, and obviously there are some people in the replies, well, it's actually Kawhi Leonard. Well, Kawhi is not included in this poll. It's either you have to pick one. It is Kyle Lowry or Vince Carter, and Kyle Lowry still holds a 55-45 advantage.
I just voted, by the way, for the record, and when I voted, it was 56-44. Was I allowed to vote here? Did I break protocol?
No, you could do that. I'll just go. I have multiple burner accounts, so I'll just go on those, and I'll just vote for Kyle Lowry. I'll go on piston powered. Actually, is what I'll do right now, and I'm going to vote for Kyle Lowry.
How many accounts do you got, Nicholas? That's amazing.
I plead the fifth. I will decline to answer that question. I have mine, and then I have piston powered, obviously, which is pretty much like. I mean, I tweet the exact same way that I do on there as I do on, well, not all the ways, but you know what I mean. I do have a burner account dedicated to getting Avery Johnson a job because I'm a big Avery Johnson fan. It's called, Is Avery Johnson Employed Yet? And every day I'll just tweet, no, he's not. Some people know it's me, some people don't. And then I got some others sprinkled in there. I'm like Kevin Durant, man. Sometimes I'll block people and I got to see what they're saying about me. I see everything, man. I got accounts all over the place.
So you're kind of turning into my hero here. I mean, hanging out in a studio apartment in Chicago, working at Wrigley, multiple accounts, Pistons players repping you. I don't know what the future holds for you, Nick, but I'm expecting big things. So no pressure. All right.
Yeah, I'll try. I think the coolest thing, like, it's weird that Twitter can like give.
Just lost Nick again. And by the way, we appreciate everybody hanging in here, especially at halftime as we're waiting for some second half action. I know that we're not given a ton of play-by-play talk tonight as we're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, Mark, but thank you for having me. Oh wait, I cut out.
Yeah, but you popped right back in. You were saying thank you for having me. You're welcome, brother.
Yeah, there we go.
You're absolutely welcome. We were thinking about who could do this, and they mentioned your name. I'm like, if Nick will do it, that'd be sweet. Yeah. So I was really happy that you were available and willing to jump on. We most definitely appreciate it. Look forward. Hopefully we can do it, again sometime sooner than later here as the playoffs keep on unfolding. Who do you got winning it all, by the way?
Well, unfortunately, the Milwaukee Bucks have completely ruined everything, and now I don't think it's going to be Milwaukee. So I guess, the self-proclaimed hub of the universe, Los Angeles Lakers, definitely seem like a pretty fun pick right now. Pretty easy pick. I think in reality, though, you watch Kawhi in that Game 6 against Dallas. And Mark, I don't know if you had a chance to watch that game.
I saw some. He was tough.
You just forget, man, how good he can be offensively. Like, you could, like, I can't even figure out how to articulate how good Kawhi Leonard is offensively. So I think the Clippers are a really fun pick. I guess for variety's sake, I'll go with them because people generally have been picking the Lakers. I think supporting cast versus supporting cast. I like the Clippers better than I like the Lakers because if Danny Green forgets how to play basketball, which he has, and, Kuzma is kind of like a Rolodex of like, you don't know what you're getting on a nightly basis. Everyone on the Clippers is just solid. And like Zubac's a guy who the Lakers sold for like a cup of coffee when he was like the only productive player on their team to their biggest rival. Insanity. So I'm going to go with the Clippers if I have to pick a Western Conference team. If I'm going out East, you know what? I really do like Boston right now. I mean, with what Kemba's being able to do right now, and then Jason Tatum. Let me tell you something, Mark. I know I'm going on a bit of a tandem here. You know what I noticed about Jason Tatum is it was mid-January, right? His beard starts to connect, and for anybody who like has ever tried to grow facial hair, like when your beard finally starts to connect, I have all facial hair. When that happened for Jason Tatum, he flipped the switch. He turned into a player who we've never seen before. You go into February, and he averaged 30 points a game and was only the fifth Celtic to ever do that, like ever. So it's like in 5 years, we're going to be looking back like mid-January of his third season. Like that's when Jason Tatum became the guy that we always thought he'd be. And I just think he's exceptional. I enjoy him. And I'm sorry that I ranted a little bit there, but Jason is special. I have to pick someone out of the East. You asked me a simple question, and for the next 5 minutes, I'm talking about Jason Tatum's beard. If I have to pick someone out of the East, it's Boston.
Just know, by the way, that we got nothing to do. You can rant and rave all you want. You want to be long-winded. This is the place to do it. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Richard, can people see what I'm seeing or no? Oh, they can't. Okay. So we're popping up, Nick, you see that? We're popping up your Twitter poll.
Yes.
Greater Toronto Raptor of all time. There it is. Look at the technical work that Richard's able to pull off here. I mean, this is a big time.
Yeah, this is quite cool.
There you go, baby. Right there out. That's a win right there. So 55 for people are crazy. If Kyle Lowry and Vince Carter were available right now for Raptors fans to draft, you could have one of those two guys. You are taking Vince Carter every single day of the week. Get the F out of here. I'm sorry.
I got to think, because how am I constructing my team? am I drafting, like, there's a lot of contingencies here.
Drafted Vince
Am I
Carter.
drafting this player? Well, am I drafting this player, like, knowing, like, this is going to be, like, do I already have my team, or am I building said team around this player? Because to me, like, that's an important distinction to make.
I'm saying you got nobody, and we're in the gym, and you get first pick, and those are the two guys you can pick from. You can have Vince, or you can have Kyle Lowry. Who are you taking?
I would take Vince Carter, but I don't think that's like. Well, hold on now.
I mean,
I think, but is it the same? Is it the same conversation? Like, is the better player, like?
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I don't know how to make this point without it like backtracking on the thing. Like,
you're talking about overall contribution to the Raptors versus not just the best player. And it's fair. But, like, I don't know, man. Vince Carter put Toronto on the map in a way that it was not on the map. Now, granted, Kyle Lowry was, I'm not even going to say that. He was the third best player. That's rude. But he was the third best player on a championship team.
Pascal
Siakam played incredible basketball last year. I mean, he really did. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'd have to look at all of it. But off the top of my head, who impressed me more? I mean, Kyle hit some big shots. He had a lot of big shots in that series. And he played a vital role. There's no doubt. But I walked out of there like thinking to myself, oh, my God, Pascal Siakam, you're talking about a Scottie Pippen. That's a Scottie Pippen. That is a do everything, doesn't need to have the ball in his hands, going to get better and better. Guy that you absolutely want on your team that you're going to win with. So,
is there a player in the history of basketball who you have seen get as good, as fast as Pascal Siakam? Like, the dude holds the record from like 0 to 100 in like record time. It's been a remarkable ascent that he's been on for Toronto in these last 3 years.
That's a great question. And by the way, he just made it. First of all, he just had a sweet screen to free up. I think it was Van Fleet coming off of there, and then he posted up and showed great patience in the paint and laid it in. That was as the Raptors pulled in 6 here. That was everything about that possession was impressive for Pascal. Tice, jumper, no. I don't know where Josh Wilson is, but that was.
he felt the ramifications of that miss. So wherever he is in his Chicago apartment.
Ooh, I think Marcus Smart just dented Marc Gasol as layup was missed there. Oh, okay. So Siakam's layup, he might have cracked Kemba Walker in the head too, but these things happen. Oh yeah, you don't want Marcus Smart messing with you.
Yeah, no.
You just.
That reminds me. Do you remember? I couldn't tell you how many years ago it was at this point when Russell Westbrook literally had a dent in his head. Do you remember that?
I do. I forget.
I don't remember what happened.
You know what's interesting? I appreciate you bringing up Westbrook as Marcus Smart buries a three. And I just had a Marcus Smart is Ron Artest of today in my head thought. I don't know if everybody else has had that thought, but it's the first time that I've ever had it. Layup is good by Lowry as you see a 7-point game. What the hell was I just talking about?
That Marcus Smart is Ron Artest.
And before that, it was, oh, God, it's my first train of thought lost, and I feel terrible. Don't do drugs, young people. Actually, that's not true. I'm just making that was just a flippant remark.
It's the Michelob Ultra. It's the beer. That's what it is. It's okay.
My one beer is catching up on me. It'll come to me at some point here.
I used to have a stream that I would do. It would be a few days a week where I would like get off work. This is back when I was living in Michigan. And it was right after I turned 21. So you know how that goes. But I would call it Hoops and Brews. And I would hop on Periscope just on my phone. And I would either have had like 2 or 3 before I got on, or I would, just start. And sometimes it got bad and I would just have to delete my streams altogether. You know, like it just gets too out of hand. But then one day, I almost got sued. This like small blog called Hoops and Brews like threatened legal discourse over the fact that I just had these Periscope streams that I called Hoops and Brews. And I was like, hey, like, don't be an idiot. Like, I'm not profiting off of this and you don't make any money either. And like, it was this whole like legal battle. Like I watch a lot of SVU, so I can lawyer up in an instant if I have to. And I did my best. Like, I remember I tweeted something, God, it was so pretentious. It was something to the effect of like, I need someone who specializes in trademark infringement to message me ASAP. And it was like the stupidest tweet I've ever had before. But yeah, I've had my fair share of moments where I lose a train of thought because not that that's actually why you lost that train of thought, but because I have too many beers and then I just can't remember what I'm saying.
I appreciate the history right there. And I love that you were doing Periscope at 21 with Hoops and Brews, even if Hoops and Brews didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And while you were doing that, by the way, I'm just getting an opportunity to check out this basketball game that we're hanging out watching with you, as it's a 6-point game. Toronto can't shoot.
No.
And all sorts of open looks and I mean,
opened the game 2-9 from 3. I believe they had only shot 11 at halftime. And like I said to you earlier, this isn't 1975. You can't shoot 23% from the perimeter and expect to win a basketball game. And that's, I guess, almost even the predicament that like Houston finds themselves in sometimes, where God, man, they just can't hit.
That's what we were talking about. You just brought it back to me. You know, I'm watching Game 7 last night, Rockets and the Thunder, and they pop up the Chris Paul James Harden trade, and I hadn't thought about it for a while, but like Houston made that trade for Westbrook to put them over the top.
Yeah,
I mean, they gave up 4 draft picks for this dude.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul, by the way, who, you know, who's, I mean, I would have bet against him this year because he's old and he's short, and guys like this don't last this long in the league. You know, you're 35 years old and you're 5'10", you're still doing what he's doing. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, props to you, Chris Paul. I mean, but it like you watch the Rockets and it's like they just picked up Westbrook and they're trying to like fit him in, you know?
Right.
Not that he's supposed to be Batman to Harden's Robin. Like they do not work. They do not, at least from what I can tell. I you know, that partnership is not blossoming, and Russ is, you know, trying to be Russ. I get it, but it's I don't know. That trade doesn't look great to me in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you gave up a lot of draft picks, and maybe they're not going to be high draft picks, but you gave up a whole lot, and it just I give them, I don't know, 3% chance against the Lakers. What do you give them in that series?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, here's the thing. With the Rockets, when you play a game of probabilities, you've got a chance against anybody, right? You can win individual games, and it's not out of the question. But in terms of winning 4 against, you know, one of the tallest teams in basketball, one of the best rim protecting teams in basketball, one of the best overall defensive teams in basketball. And like we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, you have arguably the biggest big 3 left in LeBron, AD, and pick whoever you want, right? Yep. Those were your words, by the way. Those were not my words. That is what you said. But, right, they're still up there regardless. So this style of play, you know, Morey ball, like I said, you got a chance against anyone on a game-by-game basis. It's just stringing together 4 of those games. And I'm not going to, you know, sit here and disrespect Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder, but come on, right? Like, there's a reason you had such a low shot at making the playoffs this year, and they turned out to be quite good. But, you know, you go 7 with that team. A worst-case scenario against the Lakers, you're out in 4. A best-case scenario, you're out in 6. I just worry, like, this is my question to you now. If the Rockets lose, does it cost D'Antoni and Daryl Morey their jobs?
Wow. maybe D'Antoni. I wouldn't think they'd move on from Morey, but maybe. I mean, if they do, Daryl Morey won't be out of work for long. By the way, just real quick on the chat here, I just seen some people want to shout out. Ian K. Clark, thank you so much for all the kind words. We appreciate it. And Nathaniel, good to have you back again as well. Jorge, appreciate you jumping in here as well. It's good to see everybody tonight as we watch Kyle Lowry pull up for three. That's off the rim, no good. Rebound to Jason Tatum in a 6-point ball game. The Celtics, even though feel like they've been in control the whole way here, but Toronto is hanging around. Tatum right by Van Vliet, bounces around Gasol, missed the layup, rebound to the Raptors. That makes sense, by the way. Sure, Houston could win 2 games. Okay, I could believe that. But, if they obviously, like, if they shoot lights out, it can happen. But it's just not sustainable. And I am not. Everyone's hyped on, and you picked them tonight, Nick, because you were trying to be nice and not just pick the chalk with the Lakers. But right. It's like this Raptors love. I mean, not Raptors. This Clippers love. There has been zero consistency.
Right.
Zero. So they're gonna beat the Lakers. I can't. Right. I got a hard time with it. I mean, maybe they will. They got a lot of talent, but there's this. I'm confused by so many people who have just bought into the Clippers for whatever reason. I don't even think they're like way more talented. Who's the first? Okay, if you drafted the Lakers and the Clippers right now, and I love Kawhi, but LeBron's the first pick, and AD might be the second pick. He might be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing, though. But my issue isn't with, I'm not going to, this comparative, with AD and Kawhi and Paul George, LeBron. Like, I'm not here for that. My thing is that who's guarding Lou Williams, right? Like, Pat Beverly's going to lock up no matter who. Pat Beverly versus Alex Caruso. Are you kidding me? That's a joke. There's top to bottom, these supporting casts. Like, what's the advantage that the Lakers have? Maybe Dwight Howard versus like Zubats, but other than that, I mean. Well,
hold on. This could be our first have it out right now. Alex Caruso is a pain in the ass, dude.
Yes.
He's always doing something. I mean, playing the passing lanes, getting in the lane when you wouldn't think he was going to be able to do that. He's more athletic than people think. He's hit jump shot. I mean, he's like Della Vadova on steroids. Yeah. This guy is. I like Caruso. And
actually, I don't think that's almost a 1-to-1 comparison. Della Vadova to Caruso. I don't know how I've never heard that before. That is beautiful. That's a great point. Yeah.
I mean, it's just annoying. I'm like, hold on a second. You're balding. You don't look like you should be able to do anything. Like, you're a guy that I wouldn't even pick at the gym. And you're incredible.
On a second amount, it's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah.
I mean, he's like every stereotype of a white point guard that just like is just not true. You're way, almost. I would almost throw Dante DiVincenzo in there too. Like, that guy's a ridiculous athlete. Also,
Dante DiVincenzo that's a great example. And as somebody who, again, follows the Bucks as closely as I do, Dante DiVincenzo is a guy who I'm pretty well outspoken about how wrong I was about him, like, genuinely. Because first of all, I'm a Michigan State fan. So watching DiVincenzo dice up Michigan in the national championship game just a few years ago was heaven to me. Oh, I loved it so much. The wink that he had at the camera, inject that into my veins. It was so good. Did I think that it would land him a spot on an NBA roster? No. Much less turn into this guy who can turn it on offensively whenever he needs to. I think back to, it was a January game, or maybe it was a December game against the Boston Celtics. I think it was on the road. I could be wrong about that. Dante DiVincenzo is giving Marcus Smart buckets. like possession after possession. One of the NBA's best on-ball defenders in terms of guards, but honestly, just period on-ball defenders. Like Dante DiVincenzo can be that guy. He is nice. Now, admittedly, he's been slumping super hard, not just in the playoffs, but in the bubble. But yeah, you want to talk about a guy who can be effective on both sides of the floor, be that spark plug offensively. He is absolutely tremendous. And if the Pistons could one day land him, that would be optimal, which it won't happen. But yeah, I guess you could lump Caruso in there, I suppose. But again, I just need to add more. Like that Dellavedova comparison was like chef's kiss. So good.
Thanks, brother. When I fell in love with DiVincenzo, hang on a second. I'm just sending our guy a little bit of an update here. The year that he's coming out of college, whatever the hell that was, everything's blending together. But I went to the NBA Combine in Chicago, and game after game out there. It's rare that people really stand out. And also, you're as a media guy, you're in the back room and trying to interview guys, so you don't get to watch a whole ton. But when I was out there watching, DiVincenzo was incredible, and I'm like, that dude is A, super athletic. B, he's like making all the right plays right now. C, for lack of a better way of putting it, his you-know-whats, I'll be nice here, even though I probably don't have to be. They were out on the table. I mean, he had all sorts of confidence flowing. So I'm like, okay, I will take that guy on my team all day long. By the way, right now our score is a little bit frozen right now. I think it is at least. It's Boston 66, Raptors 65. There's 4:04 to go here. Anunoby stealing the ball from Tatum. Now, and then Marcus Smart stealing it right back from Van Vliet. Turnover. Smart down the lane. Smart out of control. Smart misses the layup. Smart begging for a foul. Smart not going to get it. And now Siakam for three. Can't make anything. And he made that one. The Raptors up to 66.
Fred Van Vliet takes the ball to the rim a few possessions ago and is able to not finish through the contact, but at least get a shot up at the rim. He hit a three on the possession prior. Kyle Lowry hit a three on the possession prior. It's like now they're playing formidable NBA basketball. And definitely going to be interesting down the stretch here to see how the Lakers got the Lakers on the brain right now, how the Celtics are able to respond. Do we have? I haven't seen a graphic recently. I don't have the box score up next to me on what Kemba's at.
I got it right here. Kemba is. Hang on 1 second here. Is this freezing up too? Oh, okay, this is why it's freezing, because the feed from ESPN is freezing. Is why we're frozen. I get it. It's not our fault. We blame you, ESPN.com.
Yeah.
Because it still says 73-60. But Kemba's, according to this, at 63-60, he's still got 21, so he hasn't scored in the second half. And now it looks like Enes Kanter might have hurt his shoulder. He is dangling that right arm. That might be just a funny bone situation. Maybe Espen knows that we're taking their score. I don't know, but they're not updating. That's not the way this is supposed to go there, ESPN. But don't worry,
not optimal. Yeah,
we'll kick into a little bit more, keeping you up to date. Let's see here. I'm just checking out the chat here and trying to make sure that everybody's being served by us. We really appreciate you watching tonight. We're planning on doing a bunch more playoff games as the bubble continues on here. You know what? And I'm not a doctor, so my thoughts on this are kind of irrelevant, but I am impressed that the NBA has been able to keep this going to the level that they have. And it's almost at this point, it's like, you got to believe that there's not going to be any trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I believe it was the episode that you with Sport and Order. I believe it was the episode that Ashley won, where you asked the question, which was again week after week, right? They're phenomenal episodes. But I had a chance to have an interview with Ashley once, so I think she's pretty cool. So I made sure to tune in that week. But I believe you guys asked the question then. It was like, what do you think about the noise that they're pumping in, the crowd noise? And I believe that you were against it because I think that you had tweeted something the night before, and I was like, wait, I disagree with something that Mark said. Like, wow, that's a first. My thing is like they're adding so much to the atmosphere of the game. Sure, man. Like you and I both know that we would love to just hear them talk, right? Like I know we would love it as fans. We would love it. It's a great product. But like you have to think of it from the NBA's perspective. Like, is that really what you want? No. Like the delay on the broadcast, like you could just make it longer so that way you can, censor things out, but that could take away from the commentary of the game. It's your, the sounds cutting out every 5 seconds because Montrezl Harrell says whatever to whoever. So I think it's great, right? Like in a world right now where everything feels wrong, like it's nice that we just kind of have that and like it almost feels normal for a few hours. So I don't know if you've changed your opinion on where you're at with it, but
you have me in the consideration. I think you just cut out one more time, Nick, but I don't know if you're the technical man over there doing something to fix it, so I'm just letting you know. But this is where I've gotten to. I don't hate that there's crowd noise, but I don't think it needs to be as loud as it is. Like sometimes it just overtakes the whole thing. I'm like, look, the crowd in reality is not that loud all the time. Like it just, I don't know. I don't know. They got a tough job to do. They got to try to monitor what the crowd would be. But I love my hoop. I'm down to hear some sneaking around, some sound, whatever. It doesn't bother me. Well, that jump shot by Van Vliet is sweet though. He's got a perfect rise and let go.
Mechanically, Van Vliet has a beautiful shot. Jason Tatum's though is gorgeous. But you know who like at the end of the day is like I love it so much. Carmelo, man, like his jumper, his turnaround. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And like you can have Steph, you can have Clay. And Clay is probably, that's about as good as it gets. But Carmelo, man, like that jump shot again mechanically, is absolutely beautiful.
Smooth. I love that we can talk mechanical jump shots out of nowhere here, Nick. That just flat out got me.
The versatility of us.
That is some hoop excitement right there. By a little turnaround at the foul line there by Kyle Lowry. We are tied. The Raptors now up by 4, 72-68. Whoever thought that this series was going 7, you're feeling like you're in the money. Up by 4 with 2 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Open 3 in the corner is in. A nice pass by Jason Tatum and wide open in the corner, banging it down. Grant Williams. You got anything on Grant Williams that you can share, Nick? Because look at that. Here comes our score. Score's coming right back at you. Now
I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I got nothing.
Okay.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend fake my way into it. Nah, I got nothing. I'm not gonna lie.
Because I had to extend out that Jason Tatum assist to make sure that I had the name correct on Grant Williams. As Kemba pulls up for a 3 and drains it, we are tied at 74. This is we got a good basketball game going on right now. That's first 3 points for Kemba in the second half. He's 7 for 11 for the game, 4 of 6 from 3, 24 big points. And Serge just turns it over. Here come the Celtics the other way with Kemba. Right side dribble. Anobi has him. Cross court, open 3. Williams again, off the rim, no good. Rebound tipped around. It's going to stay with the Celtics. Yep, Kanter was fouled.
Oh, yep.
What's your thoughts on Enes Kanter? You want him on your basketball team?
Oh, God, man. I don't know. Because it's difficult. Do I want a guy who's capable of getting played off the floor 65% of the time? But like that other 35%, it's like you could be getting a guy who could be making like a legitimate defensive impact. I don't know. It depends, man. Like I guess it depends on who I'm playing. I completely missed it.
You got go just turn up. You're going to see an unbelievable replay, and Robert Williams III just threw one down like Dominique in '87. I mean, seriously.
Here, I'm just going to go back a little bit. And then I'll just move
with a
back.
push too from Siakam. Nobody's getting my Dominique reference, but and okay, fine. How about Sean?
Sorry.
How about
Sean? 10
Sean?
out of 10. I was just trying to go back a little bit so I could catch it.
Sean Kemp, how's that? That was
violent.
There you go. Sweet pass too. Now that was, by the way more of a foul than the touch to Giannis. Oh yeah, Marcus Smart's loving it. See, there's something, by the way, there's something that's going on right now that I'm just kind of guessing at, but the fact that there's no fans.
I just saw it. I'm sorry. I just saw it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I just saw it. That was incredible. You were right. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that out of the way. You were correct. That was disgusting. Keep going. I'm sorry.
That was a rim rattler for sure. I think there's, and so looking to see if it's a flagrant foul. And in today's NBA, it probably is. I would never call that a flagrant foul, but they might. So we'll see. Officials are conferring. I think there's something going on that without fans and these guys in the bubble all day long, and that it just is strict hoop. There's a certain, and it's intense, period, but they're certainly not lacking intensity. I mean, this feels like just raw basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're a basketball fan, which I'm assuming you are, if you're watching us right now, it's pretty cool. It really is what's going on. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely feel for some of these guys, right? It's very clear that it's affected some of them in some pretty negative ways.
That's true.
And that's why it's difficult for me a little bit to, let these jokes about Paul George continue to fly. Because sometimes, listen, man, they're funny. I get it. It's really easy to be like, Paul George stinks, haha. But when he comes out and he's like, it's a mental health thing, I'm really bothered by just kind of being in isolation all the time. It gets to a point where I'm kind of like, okay, maybe the jokes really aren't that funny anymore. If you're genuinely in a bad mental state, I don't really find it funny, and I try not to make those jokes anymore. Even with Danny Green, a guy who's in the same boat. But other than that, a majority of the NBA, like you said, they are really. It just kind of feels like any other season with these playoffs, obviously minus the fans and the actual home court advantage. But whether it's the sights and sound of the game are just they're great, and the players are bringing the intensity to match. And the NBA has an incredible product on the floor given the circumstances.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up the Paul George part of it, and I just went and got my ring light to see if that would help.
That's exactly what I had. That's the light that went out. That's what I had.
Oh wow, the ring light going out. That's unfortunate. I don't know how you.
I don't know how I'm gonna. I don't know how I'm gonna fix that.
I was like, is this thing good forever? I hope you are, because I guess you got to get a whole new ring. But that's where. If you spend too much time on Twitter, it is going to get uncomfortable. Siakam's got a nice little jump shot, a little turnaround, an 8-footer in the lane here. He can't hit a three, but that shot he's got some touch on. He's got 13, by the way, 5 for 12, 5 rebounds. As it's 77-76 Boston with 15 seconds to go here, third quarter. Tatum dribbling up top, guarded by Van Fleet. Screen set by Williams. Ball gets somehow in the corner, and the layup is good. Wow. That was some serious good fortune for the Celtics, as that ball was loose, but it ends up in the bucket, and credit Brad Wanamaker. You got anything on Brad Wanamaker?
A guy who's 2 years away from being 2 years away. That's all that I got on him.
Well, Wanamaker was in the right spot at the right time. Ooh, that's a good finish right there. Kyle Lowry just took a knee to the newts. And he is down. Let's get a slower look at this. Oh, that didn't feel good. That definitely didn't feel good. Oy. Oy.
You go back and watch that one if it play again. That was good. That's good stuff, man. Puts the ball on the floor and takes the baseline. Let me ask you this question. Super random, super out of left field. I figure we got another quarter to go here, so let me just ask this. If you look, throughout NBA history, and like you said, you've kind of been around the game for a while, is there an individual season by a player that like you recall better than anything else? And if that's a little bit confusing, what I mean is like 2017, 2018 LeBron, I remember everything about that season that he did, and for the rest of my life I'll be able to talk about that season with him. What player and what season is that for you if you have one?
Okay, I mean,
kind of a weird question, I know, but
yeah, no, for us NBA diehards, or individual fan diehards, it's an easy. I mean, it's obviously for me is Michael.
Right.
So, what would I pick? Where I really remember the season in depth. I don't know if I quite have it like that. I think you've got me beat. But I would like. There's just certain moments that stand out. Like I remember being, let's see, it was like November of '86. So if we're going like I'm at the Bulls are opening up Jordan's third season. I'm at my buddy Rob Ginsburg's bar mitzvah, and I remember going up to the bartender because suburban Chicago, we had bartenders at bar mitzvahs, and I remember going up to him at 13 and being like, "Hey, did the Bulls win tonight?" And this is this is after he scored 63 against the Celtics, coming back from the broken foot the year before. So you're not 100% certain that he's the greatest player of all time at that point. And now, even though Bobby Knight was saying it before he played one game in the league, just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But so I asked this guy, and he's like, did the Bulls win? They played at New York. Yep. Jordan had 50. And I highly recommend you YouTube that game. So it's, I was like, okay. I mean, this is something. And they started off that season. They finished that year, I think 40-42. But they started out like 13-2. They were beating everybody. They were in first place. They're winning in Atlanta. Atlanta, back then they had it. So I remember a lot about that year. Although I don't remember like the playoffs all that well. They got swept by the Celtics, and like none of the games stick out to me, which is kind of weird. Like 87, 88, All-Star games in Chicago. Bulls win a playoff series for the first time. They beat a really an up-and-coming at that point Cleveland team with Ron Harper and Mark Price and Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance, and Jordan scored 50 in game one of that series. After the game, Ron Harper's like, he'll never score 50 on me again. Although if you go back and watch the highlights, they weren't really on Ron Harper. I mean, he's doing it to like literally everyone else. But but game two, he puts up 55. What stands out for you in LeBron season? Let me give me some like anecdotal moments.
How long you got?
A fourth quarter, baby.
We got a fourth quarter. Okay, I got to keep this short then. That's the year where LeBron James just decides to make things up with the basketball in his hands. The year where, and the move I'm talking specifically, God, where do I start with this year? Let me start from the beginning. My girlfriend, I'm glad she's not here right now because she would lose her mind if she had I just ran her through this whole season 3 nights ago. That's the season that Kyrie Irving forces his way out. Isaiah Thomas comes to Cleveland, and they have this who's who cast, and it's not really working. And at the trade deadline, I remember I was at work, and there's a 30-minute period where I don't check my phone. And in that 30 minutes, half the team is gone, right? They got a whole bunch of new guys in there. And we got a new Cleveland Cavaliers team on our hands. And the year, so they go into the 4th seed. And bizarre. Like, it was the arbitrary thing in the world. Am I back? We good? Am I back?
You're going in and out. You're back right now.
There we go. Okay.
By the way,
so
what's up? What's up, Chan, Roop, Flowgas? Yes, I see you rooting for the Celtics. Keep going, Nick.
So they go into the playoffs as a 4th seed, and it's like the most arbitrary thing in the world to think that a LeBron James-led team is in the top 2 seed in the league. But they have this, this re-upped cast from the trade deadline where they bring in like Larry Nance and George Hill, like Derrick Rose is gone. They gave away Dwayne Wade. So it's like, man, I don't know if the Cavs are going to be able to do it this year. You have game 4. I believe it was game 5 because they went up 3-2. Maybe they tied it 2-2. I don't remember. LeBron James hits the same game-winning shot that he hit against Orlando in 2009, I believe. It was from the same exact spot. I remember watching that game live, and it blew my mind. My dad was in Cleveland when that happened, and then the next series you go into Toronto and you're like, I don't know, man. But then you remember that it's LeBron James and it is the Toronto Raptors, the Dwayne Casey-led Toronto Raptors. It's the series where game 3, this is what I'm talking about. LeBron James decides to make up a basketball move that not only has never been done before, not only hasn't been executed as flawlessly as he did it, but he never went to it ever again beyond this season. And it blew my mind because it was an automatic bucket every single time. What he did was he would get the ball and he would go to the left baseline. As he's going to the left baseline, he would fall away from the basket and with one hand put the ball up. He'd go glass and it would go in every single time. It's how he hit the buzzer beater against Toronto in game 3. He did it against the Celtics in game 7, and he did it against the Warriors in game 1 of the finals when he had 51 in the J.R. Smith game and that whole thing. He kept doing this move. It was indefensible, and the dude never went back to it again. And if I could ask LeBron James any question, it would be, please do this. Like, why don't you do this anymore? If you want to score 100 in a game doing that, you can. So you go through the Raptors series, and it was like not even close. Dwayne Casey loses his job. Shout out to the Raptors because Detroit loves them. But then you go into that Boston series, and it's like, is this rookie Jason Tatum and like rookie Jalen? Like, are these, or no, wait, was Jalen Brown a rookie that year? I don't think he was. Are these going to be the guys that knock off LeBron James, right? Like the Kyrie Irving-less Boston Celtics. Is this really going to happen? They go to game 7, and by God's grace, game 7, Jeff Green shows up.
Nick, we lost you for a second here. I'm loving your recall here, and I'm trying to get you a special guest in here tonight.
Back and I watched this game. What's that?
You're back. We lost you for a second. 82-80, Raptors by 2, 10:38 to go. Van Vliet on the drive, foul. Raptors will keep it. Keep going.
You go into that finals that year, and you're like, obviously it's not in favor that LeBron has a chance because why would he against this Warriors team? But I remember recently, this was like maybe in June. Maybe it was even May. Like, I just needed basketball. I needed to watch something. So I watched like an archived game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals. LeBron has 51. You know, the J.R. Smith game at the very end when he, forgets the game situation. And I'm watching that game, and LeBron's doing everything. Like, he's that guy. I mean, like possession for possession, he's single-handedly keeping Cleveland in this game. And you get to the end of it, and the audacity of J.R. Smith to just piss away all of the work the 46 minutes of work that LeBron James just put in. And you can be mad at George Hill for missing the free throws. I'm more mad at J.R. Smith, the grown man that he is, for just not remembering what the score was. That's my condensed version of how good. I guess I didn't really say much. But LeBron, that was the best basketball player I think the NBA has ever seen. I don't care if he lost in the finals. What was he supposed to do? Yeah, that was my LeBron. I'll never forget that. And then after that, you knew the series was over, right? Like, allegedly, after game 1, he goes into the locker room and, like, punches a whiteboard or something. And that's why after game, 4, when they get swept, he comes out with like a brace on his hands and he's like, yeah, I was playing with a broken hand the entire time. And it's like, dude, you don't have to make excuses. Like, we didn't expect you to win, brother. It's okay. Yeah. And then it was over, but he goes to LA Still, that was the most fun I've ever had watching basketball.
See, and that's by the way, Kemba just took a charge on Van Fleet that could not have felt good. Raptors are playing some good defense here as they're trying to maintain a 3-point leader with 10 minutes to go. Wow, that was a block, by the way. I think Kemba got and the Celtics perhaps got a beneficial call. Kemba double team, cross court, back to Kemba, in the lane, down the lane, tough shot, got it, +1. Wow, Kemba Walker to tie it up here.
Man.
You know, what you just teed up, I really, like my favorite Jordan years, winning was great, but when it was just him against the world, that was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucked when you lost, but I truly, there's always in those years, there's individual nights where he literally does it by himself.
Yes.
And it's like I watched 5 minutes today of one of my favorite 1988 against the Pistons, by the way, at the Silverdome. He scores 59 on 21 of 27. And he's got one dunk.
Okay.
It's this awesome third quarter. Just like Isaiah tries to close out on him as he fakes the shot and goes by him, and just a sweet freaking tomahawk lean in Mike, and his run back down the court back then were so sweet. I think I'm gonna have a little bit of a gift for you here, Nick.
What is this? What is happening?
I'm doing a live stream, Celtics and Raptors, and my guy Nick, who is he's an up and comer, dude. He's your biggest fan. He loves you. So this guy, I've never heard anybody love you at this level, Nicky. So I figured I would hook him up, and you could just say hello real quick. He appreciates everything you do.
Oh, so we're both named Nick. I was so confused. I didn't know. I was like, who? Okay. Hi, Nick. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for hopping in. I was just telling Mark that I put you and Doris Burke sort of in the same paradigm, where it's like anything that the example that I used was last week on Twitter. I saw everybody was saying like something about what Doris Burke said, and I tweeted like, I don't know what she said, but I know that I agree with it because like that's it's Doris Burke. I put you guys sort of in that same level. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh,
man.
that's super
really
nice. Doris last night when she just absolutely eviscerated Steve Javie was maybe the highlight of the NBA playoffs up to this point. And when she fearlessly talked about how horrifying that officiating was. She's great. And it's not only that she's great, we have like a epidemic. And I'm not going to name names, Reggie Miller, but we have an epidemic of really, really bad. And again, it's be totally inappropriate for me to talk about people, Chris Webber, play-by-play announcers when it comes to the NBA. Color commentators, not play-by-play, not play-by-play, color commentators. Doris is great. Who's also great is Stan Van.
I love Stan Van.
He's been spectacular, and he's firing off like scathing political tweets during the games. While he's broadcasting. He's like during commercial breaks. So this is great. Nick, do you work with Carm?
I guess technically we fall under the same umbrella. We both work with FanSided. I just write for Piston Powered.
Nick
Give me
is
1 second.
Nick, I'm talking about Nick to you, Nick, right? This is a Twitter-made self guy who's building himself up. And he's got himself 8,000 followers or so far, and he's got his buddies on the Pistons are tweeting. The topic that was just on the table, by the way, was is there any one NBA season that you can literally go through the whole way and every single game? And you just brought up the 2016.
Yeah, so So yeah, sorry, I had my AirPods turned off, so I had to quickly turn those back on. Nick, the way that I told Mark that I found out who you were was sort of all the LeBron stuff. And I really appreciated that because LeBron, like through and through, is now granted, I'm a 22-year-old, and what Mark and I spoke about before was this a generational thing.
Jesus.
So I've never known an NBA without LeBron James. So naturally, that's who I'm going to gravitate towards. The year that, like, not quite game by game, but like I remember everything about it. Like, I can give an oral history about it. Is the 2017, 2018 LeBron James and the travesty that was that Cleveland Cavaliers team. Like, I watched that game 1 of the finals. Like, I went out of my way to do it recently, and I was just pissed by the end of it. I had to call
so
one
how
of
about this? So I've got, sorry to interrupt you. So almost every meaningful LeBron playoff game I've watched a number of times, except for that one.
Yeah.
Because here is the most underrated, infuriating part of that game is not JR, not the George Hill missed free throw. It's the absolute single most egregious use of instant replay in an NBA game ever.
Oh, the Kevin Durant. Oh, my God.
The Kevin Durant thing. So if people don't remember, the Cavs are up with less than 40 seconds left. Durant comes in, gets called for a charge. It's going to be Cavs ball up 2 or 3, and we're, you know what I mean, with 35 seconds left or something. And the refs stay there reviewing it to see if LeBron was in the restricted area.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. And he was a foot out of the restricted area. They had no reason to review it. But once you review that, you then can check to see, was he swaying to the side? And they said he was, and they switched the call.
Right.
And everything else. Real quick before I go, because I have to go because my family's going to kill me. Do you think Toronto's going to win this game? Either one of you guys?
No. I think the Celtics are sweeping the series.
No. Yeah. I think I said it's going to be probably a gentleman's sweep. I think it's difficult to think that this Toronto Raptors team can't pull off at least one. I don't think they're that fraudulent. I don't think you lose Kawhi Leonard and you just completely fold in the playoffs. It's difficult to imagine that Pascal, Kyle Lowry, and Fred VanVleet all go cold inside of a single game. Obviously, that's what happened in the first half. But no, I'd like to imagine that Toronto can pull off at least one. But the championship window that Boston all of a sudden has, it's a bit too good to pass up. And I think that they're going to comfortably win the East.
Well, they'll win. I think they'll win the East if Miami can beat Milwaukee. It's weird. Like, it looks like Milwaukee can't beat Miami. But I don't think Miami could beat Boston, and I don't think Boston could beat Milwaukee. But Milwaukee's going to get knocked out. I think but you were mentioning LeBron. It would be so great for LeBron if the Celtics make the finals, because the only thing he hasn't done in his NBA career is sweep a team in the finals. So you would get that opportunity. But I think Toronto's going to win tonight. I think Celtics win this series, but I don't think it's as lopsided as the first couple games might indicate. And Toronto actually just took a 3-point or a 1-point lead on a Kyle Lowry 3. So Nick, go ahead, Carm.
No, I'm just gonna listen. Just before you go, young Nick to slightly veteran Nick. I've seen Nick Wright work as hard as he worked to get to where he's at here, and Nick, I've noticed you working as hard as you work. So there's a not just the name thing. I see a hunger in you.
Just the name thing.
It's not just the name thing, Nicky.
We got the LeBron thing too, so
and
we got that going too.
But
yes,
anyway,
I would just say, all I would say is to Nick, I was very, very, very lucky to have some really, really strong and awesome mentors. And if you're starting off with Carm, that ain't the right track. I'll talk to you guys later.
See you, Nicky.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks for doing it, brother.
Much, man.
Yeah,
Thank
later
you.
on. See you guys.
There you go, Nicky.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Oh my God.
I figured that if you like him that much, we might as well make a connection here.
Oh my God.
I didn't realize it was on that level. That's cool. I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, no, he's like, I love him. So thank you for doing that. That was super. Like I saw him like pop up, and I'm like, maybe they're like playing some I don't know what this is. And I realized like what's going on. Yeah, I didn't mean to fanboy that hard, but
I don't think you did.
About that, but man,
you were good. I knew that was in the realm of something that when he can pop in for 2 minutes and hang on out, I had a feeling he would be willing to do it. So he's just sitting at home anyway. Ain't no thing. But yeah, that's it's true though. Like he is like what I noticed about you on Twitter is that you're always doing something. And we would do the afternoon show, and then he'd go home and have dinner with his family, and then he'd be working until 1 a.m, 2 a.m, doing stuff, getting ready for the next day. So you want to, kind of got to live this 24/7 thing if you want to do it. I didn't know you were that young, dude. 22. You don't look 22. You look older than me, I'd almost say.
Yeah, I get. I remember last year.
Put that in the chat, by the way. Who looks older, me or Nick? And don't worry about this gray. It's just, I just.
I got gray, dude. It's insane. I've had gray hairs since I was in 7th grade.
Are you serious?
I swear to God, I'll never forget. I was in 7th grade. I had my head down. I don't remember why, but one of my teachers came over and they were like, he's like, "You have a gray hair. Do you want me to like take it out?" And I was like, "No, don't do that." I got them in my beard too. You can't see it, but yeah, I'm embracing it. Like I know my hair is going to go away one day. I'm just growing it out while I still can. And,
man, see that was straight terraforming. By the way, I personally am going to be very bothered now if the Raptors lose this game, just because freaking Nick Wright just jumped down there and said they were going to win, and I'm going to look wrong. Get out of there. Oh, but all right. 4-point game with 5 minutes to go here. Boston, do not let me down here. Kemba to Brown, fadeaway, good. I'm not looking at the score, by the way, on our screen. It's ahead of me. So now I see 95-93, which maybe for the viewage here, I should stick with what's on the screen, but I'm like 4 seconds behind what's actually happening. Lowry around his screen, 3-ball, nope. Rebound to the Celtics. Marcus Smart, I like it. Getting into game mode here, Nick. Get into game mode.
Got to get in that closing minute form. That was another thing, actually, not to completely go off topic here. That was another thing that actually happened during the Bucks Heat game 1. Pat Connaughton plays 25 minutes.
Uh-oh. We lost you. Pat Connaughton plays 25 minutes when you come on back here. 95 apiece here. Raptors the basketball. Siakam had a shot, passed it up, now gets it back in the lane, banging his way. Tough shot, short, rebound, tipped around. It's going to be out of bounds to the Raptors. Wow. That right there is the essence of why Pascal Siakam is not going to be able to carry you past Boston.
No.
As much as I enjoy myself some Pascal Siakam. Solid drive, by the way, Jason Tatum, finishing with the right hand to tie it up here. This feels like, look, Boston loses this game. It's no big deal. You're up 2-1. But you do have an opportunity right now where you're either going to be coasting or you're in a series.
Right.
So, which it might – I don't know. It could be good for the Celtics to actually be in a series and be pushed long term here, because they're still – it's not like they've been playing hoop together for 10 years. Kemba's first year with the team. So maybe being in a series where things get tight, it could actually help them down the line. Does that make sense to you? I think I lost talking to myself. Yeah. So, but – and Nick can't hear me, but I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And by the way, thank you everybody on the chat tonight again. Appreciate it.
Just 1 second.
Todd Henkel, I see you, my friend. Zach's Burner, Chanrup, you're still hanging out. T-Row double, Mike check. Yeah, that's right. We'll John Bueller, we love you, John. John Bueller, Nick Wright has been, Nick Hinkle has been, Mark Carmen has been. These are facts. John Bueller is the man, my man. We love you, Bueller. Appreciate all you do. Oh, you're switching over to the headphone mode.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, I had to switch over. The old AirPods died.
I see. I don't even have AirPods, Nick. That's old school right here. Got no AirPods. I almost bought them this week, but I got nervous that I was making the wrong purchase. I got to call my new cool hip people. Get my right AirPods. I thought were like super expensive, but they're only like $35, huh?
Are they $35? I was at Target today. I saw them for $175.
Okay, see, I see some online for like $35. Amazon AirPods.
Yeah, those are like the off-brand ones. Those are like these look so close to the real thing, but like they're not actually the real thing.
Do I really need the real thing? Do they work?
Yeah, they're quite nice. I mean, I don't really know how like the fake ones are. Like I don't know how they hold up.
Yeah, but you lose the other ones anyway. I'm going to lose this.
You say that, man. You say that. Are you going to pay damn $180 for headphones just to lose them? Like
yes, 1,000%. I will lose them. I know myself.
That's what people always say, but it's like, I don't know. You're very, because of how much you spend. Now, granted, mine were a gift, so I didn't spend the money on them. But yeah, no, I'm very conscious of where they are at all times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, you're living in a studio apartment in Chicago. You're 22 years old. You're a smart man. You're gonna know where your AirPods are.
Yes.
And I should be that smart, but I just know myself. Where did I leave those? Was it? Although I guess we're going to less places now. I couldn't really leave them at the gym, which is something that I would do. Are they at work? Well, I don't go to work.
We did lose our apartment keys recently.
That's not good.
I know where my AirPods are. Oh, man, but I can't find my apartment keys. Where are those at?
Did you have to get the locksmith?
No, we had a spare set, luckily.
Oh, well, that was lucky.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a straight nightmare.
That would have not been good, yeah.
No, that would not have been good. All right, so let's get a little predictions in the chat here. Who do people like tonight with 4:08 to go here, 95 apiece? Let's get an informal poll of predictions. I got Boston by 2. So I put a number on it too. Don't just give me the team. Give me a score. Give me a margin of victory. Van Vliet, 3-ball on the way, off the rim, no good. Rebound to Marcus Smart. Here come the Celtics in a tie ball game. 3:50 to go.
Mark, whenever you get a second, I don't know if you still have the box score up next to you. If you want to give me and the folks a quick update, some leading scores on either side.
Wow, look at this. Look at these people going in here. Boston by 8, Raptors by 5. By 8?
I was thinking Raptors by 7. I think there might be a bit of an explosion here.
Box score-wise, Kemba's got 29 on 9 of 14. Second leading scorer for the Celtics is 2 guys. Jaylen Brown's got 15. Tatum's got 15. Brown is 7 for 12. Tatum's 5 for 16. Celtics are shooting 33% from the three-point line, 9 of 27 as our guy, where are you at, Josh Wilson? Big moment for Tease with a bucket. 97-95. I didn't see it as I was looking at the box score, but I did see him running back down the other way. OG Anunoby harassed by Tatum to Gasol. Cross court to Van Vliet. 6 to shoot. In trouble. Van Vliet on the drive. Van Vliet's pass to Gasol tipped away. Celtics the basketball. 2-on-1 break. Tatum to Smart. Nowhere to go. Oh, and there it is. Man. Good God. Jaylen Brown for a 2-hand whap. Whoever's got Boston by 8, you're looking good right now.
Mark, I know you said you're not a gambling man. Do you have any idea what the line was on this game?
Shoot, I don't know. I don't. I would have guessed it was Celtics by 4.
Probably.
Van Vliet for 3. No. Rebound to the Celtics. If anybody knows what the line was before the game, we
would appreciate that. Yeah.
We would definitely take it. Boston pulling away here.
I don't know if you're catching it, but Kemba's energy right now is
low.
Through the roof. No, it's high. It is high right now.
So I'm watching him just stand in the corner as Tatum just threw up a ridiculous, terrible 3. Good D by the Raptors as the shot clock expired. That was not a good possession by Boston at all. Ooh, that was a sweet pass by Tatum to Tease. Dunks are good, especially late in ball games when the stress is mounting. Still playing team basketball. Jorge now trolling Nick Wright. Nick, you fool for picking the Raptors. Still got a ways to go here. 2:10.
I'm still not really over that possession with that ended with that Jason Tatum 3. That still's kind of leaving a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. That was terrible. One where he was like falling away from the basket from 30 feet away.
That was not good
about that.
Good strong drive by the greatest Raptor of all time, according to Nick. 99-97. Kyle Lowry with the finish.
I'll have to, on the next commercial, I'll have to check to see where that pulls at.
Brown in the lane, short shot, missed it. Rebound to Tatum, back to Brown, another two-hand dunk. Actually finished it softly with the right hand. Raps could use C.D. Osmond on the floor. That's funny, Aaron.
Oh, my gosh. Aaron, no, that's Aaron Burkhart. No. Aaron Burkhart, all he does is come into my streams and talk about Jetty Osmond. He knows exactly what he's doing. And the gratification that you just gave him, the validation that you just read that out loud. Damn it, Aaron. I know you don't even know what you just did. Oh my gosh. I know he's gonna text me any minute here, all caps. He's gonna be so happy that you just did that. Oh, Mark, you don't know.
Aaron, Nick's my guy, so I'm feeling a little bad right now, but you're in, Aaron. You're in.
He's one of my really good friends, but he knows it just irks me.
I got it. We're under 50 seconds. Boston the basketball here. 2-point game. Huge possession. Tatum guarded by Anunoby. Ooh, shakes him left. Little jump shot off the rim. No good. Raptors the ball down 2. No timeouts here. This is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was just gonna. Yeah. Kemba had a chance to close the game 2 possessions ago on a relatively open 3 on the right wing. So I'm curious to see if this actually becomes a game. See, Aaron just texted me, gotcha. That's what you just did, Mark. That's what, man, I knew it was going to happen.
So now we got to Aaron, good work. Keep on doing it. I'm not opposed to trolling Nick here, even though it's my guy. 2-point game. Raptors the basketball. Timeout on the floor. The restream now saying that Aaron for the win.
I
don't know how Restream knows that.
Coming down to these closing minutes here, I say closing minutes, I mean closing seconds. I think the most interesting thing in this tightly contested game as they go to a timeout right now, you have 2 of the best basketball minds in the game drawing up plays right now, drawing up these defensive schemes in Brad Stevens, who's arguably the best, and Nick Nurse. So I'm really curious to see if this does become a tie game. That offensive execution is going to be really interesting to see what Brad Stevens or Nick Nurse draws up.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't interviewed Nurse, so I don't know him as well. But I've talked to Stevens many times. I'm the guy that talked to Brad Stevens.
Little humble brag there by Mark.
It's just noticeable when you're around that guy how incredibly intelligent he is.
Yeah.
Everything is very measured. He thinks through exactly what he wants to say, what he's not willing to say, and you can just see the screws, if you will, are moving around in that head at a very rapid rate. Van Vliet for 3. I don't like that shot at all. Off the rim, no good. They did get a long rebound. 26 seconds, 15 seconds, different shot clock, game clock. Van Vliet down the lane. Tough lefty layup is in. Wow.
Man. Wow.
That was a hell of a shot around Tease. 101. All right, Celtics playing for the win here. Did I say Boston by 2? Because I think I did.
It sounds like what you said.
All right, Kemba, can you do it? Van Vliet, Marcus Smart coming to set the screen. Kemba working on 2 Raptors. Give it up. Smart's begging for the back. Oh, my God, what a pass. What a pass. And the Celtics have the lead. 0.5 to go. That was incredible.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I mean, he sold it like he was going to that. That's one of the best. That is what a pass. I know you. For those of you who can't see it, he drove to the foul line, looked like he was passing to the corner, and then basically he saw Tease just hanging on the left baseline and a bounce pass. It wasn't around the back or but that is
right into the low block. Oh, my God. Josh Wilson is somewhere right now. Send a medic. I don't know where he is, but the cardiac arrest is where Josh Wilson is right now. Here's the gosh, man. I'm going to go back and watch that in real time again.
Well, Josh Wilson, if he's feeling good about this, he could have made that layup. So that was all Kemba. And his guy got blown by Van Fleet, although it was good defense. I'll give him credit.
Between Lowry and Siakam, too. What a feed.
But for the record here, if you can't see it on our screen here, there is 0.5 left, which means you can catch and shoot. So there is enough time. Toronto is going to, very well could get a shot off here to win it. Taco Fall's coming in the game. Way to go, Taco. I love Taco.
Woo!
Why can't Taco get some run? You had to wait till now to get Taco in there?
Hey, man, he's playing. You hear about guys playing valuable playoff minutes, valuable playoff microseconds here for Taco Fall.
A valuable half a second.
Yeah.
All right, Taco's in there. That's why he's on the roster. To be able to be a reporter in the bubble and just hang out with Taco Fall, that would do so much for me. All right, here we go. 0.5. They definitely. Cross court. He's open. Anobi for three on the way. It's in. It's in. It's in. I think he got it off. I think he got that off. The Raptors are celebrating. But he brought it back down. We're gonna have to see. That was a great play. He was wide open. Let's see here. He catches it. He's off. That's good. That ball is good. That is a game winner, baby. They left him open.
The screen from Marc Gasol, he caught up Daniel Tyson. I couldn't see who that other body was. But to seal them off. So, oh, my God. What a play. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is exactly what I was talking about. In these crucial moments, I wanted to see both of these coaches rise to the occasion and make something happen. And Nick Nurse, by God's grace, made it happen. I can't see who is that Jaylen Brown? Marc Gasol caught up Daniel Tice and Jaylen Brown in one screen, collateral, double damage. Pack him up and send him home. What a shot.
What a reaction, too. He just walked away like, that's right, I'm the man.
Oh,
by the way, the scoreboard operator, I think he was a tenth late on hitting that button. If you look at it, it doesn't move instantly, which is a very tough job, by the way. Underrated. Like, somebody's got to hit it. And I think he might have been
maybe a tenth. Yeah, maybe a tenth.
I mean, not much.
Right.
But we're talking about, did he really catch that and get it off in half of a second? I mean, I suppose.
I think the ball was out far enough that 10.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Dude, we just got to witness a hell of a basketball game. That was a lot of fun.
I didn't want to shout as loud as I was going to because I didn't want to completely destroy everyone's eardrums. It's really hard to conceal my reaction a little bit there. Good God, what a shot. Do I think Toronto is dead in the water? Not anymore. Do I think Boston wins this series? Yes. See, here's that aforementioned gentleman's sweep that I mentioned earlier. 5 games.
I mean, I'll say this. The Raptors, for everything they've done this year with Kawhi leaving and all of it, they deserve that win.
Yeah.
They absolutely deserve to have that. And that was, wow. I mean, an incredible play by Kemba. The Celtics got dunk after dunk after dunk down the stretch, and the Raptors are able to win it on a fluke 3. But, hey, it happened. This NBA bubble, we love you, baby.
Unreal. Let me ask you this, some closing thoughts here as we start to put a bow on this. Most notable thing, Celtics only hit 9 threes. I mean, that's insane. They shot 31%. Raptors shot 32.5, 13 of 40, so they definitely picked it up there in that second half. Monster performance from Kyle Lowry. I didn't realize he had 31. He did finish, I think, 2 of 8 from 3. I thought it was 2 of 9. Fred VanVleet got it together. I mean, 9 for 22, not spectacular by any means, but goodness gracious. Jason Tatum with 15, 9, and 6 on 5 of 18. Huh.
Wow. Great game. Great game. And
Kemba Walker scores, 17 in the first and only 12 in the second half combined. That's, 12 17 in the first 12 in the next 3 quarters combined. So that's quite interesting.
Let's just look at the chat here. Nick Wright called it. Wow, I hate that chat by our guy. Gracias from Sin Cha. Sam James, what a shot indeed. Chan Roop, let's not go. Dan Shed, what, I'm with you. Ben Anderson, booyah. John Bueller, the dinosaurs are dead to me. Liam Wolf, Luka's shot was better. I don't think so. Although Luka's move was better to get himself free. But that was degree of difficulty. I have to catch that 40-foot bomb, get rid of it. Not easy. No, but, I mean, Luka's shot was preposterous, too. It's kind of – those are one and not the same. But, hey, Nick, this was awesome, man. I had a ton of fun. Let's do it again, all right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for that little Nick Wright surprise that you threw in there. Thank you very much for that, man. I genuinely, this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, well, it was our pleasure. At Nicholas Henkel on Twitter. You probably know that already, but at NicolasHenkel. I'm at the Carm. Thank you to Richard Durante, Hunter Armour, everybody who has stepped up here and helped us tonight. We greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Raptors 104, the Celtics 103. Enjoy the Clippers and the Nuggets up next. We will see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube page so you will know when we're doing live streams. Obviously, we are not a staff of 100, so we're not doing all of them. But we will be doing more. So subscribe on your YouTube channel, and it will let you know when we are back at it. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again. Congratulations to Toronto. Nick, see you next time.
See you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.